for the ones who get it done.
Give me a mountain with lots to do. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and that cool, refreshing Mountain Dew. Yes, give me my good friends. Give me that dew.
Grab some ice-cold Mountain Dew today.
Mountain Dew.
Leftover Salmon and the infamous String Dusters are coming to Cocoa Booth Amphitheater Saturday, July 11th. Get your tickets on etix.com today.
I'm attorney Brian Ritchie. Getting hurt in a car wreck comes with all kinds of stress and frustration. But when you call me, I'll be on top of all of it. So all you need to worry about is getting better. If you've been injured in a car wreck, I'm on top of it. Contact us at ritchielaw.com.
WCMC-FM HD1 Holly Springs.
I think Arizona State being great is a lot of fun for college football. And I think Kenny Dillingham is, in addition, he's not just super young, but he's super young with a lot of great positive energy. So I'm very interested to see if the team, Arizona State, that was picked 16th in the preseason poll in the Big 12 last year and ended up winning the daggum league, going to the college football playoff, and taking Texas all the way to overtime. I would like to see if they're going to be able to live up to the billing now expected to be near the top of the conference.
It's the Adam Gold Show. Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria's here.
It's Thursday.
You have no...
we don't have a special name for Thursday.
No phrase for that.
Pre-Friday.
That's right. It's College Friday.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
If you had classes on Friday, you were either a freshman or you were super smart, and the class you have to take was only offered on a Friday.
Yeah. I had a lot of Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, or Tuesday, Thursday classes were ideal.
As a freshman.
Oh, no. Through my whole college career. Yeah. It's just whatever the course was available.
To be perfectly honest, my academic college career, admittedly, a bit fuzzy.
That's fair.
But, so it's very possible I had Friday classes all the time and just didn't go.
Maybe.
Just didn't go.
Some professors didn't care.
I did find this out, and for those of you with kids who are going to college, or and I know there are people maybe nodding along in their cars as I say this, there was no difference between a 9 a.m. class, Friday or otherwise, and a 1 p.m. class, if it was the first class of the day.
Right.
Right? There's no difference. It was equally as difficult / impossible to get to the 1 o'clock class as it was to the 9 o'clock class.
Oh.
Didn't matter when if it was your first class of the day, man, it was hard to make it.
I avoided any 8 o'clock class as much as possible.
What's the difference? It's the first class. All right, speaking of college, this is before we begin. I've said this a billion times, probably not a billion, but close. I'm older than most of us. I'm even older than me. So, and I appreciate old school types of things.
Yeah.
So I got a correspondence. I don't know how long it's been in my mailbox. I never receive anything in my mailbox
I don't either.
That's interesting to me, so I don't often go back there. So, but Paul, fearless leader from the corner office, said this has been in your box for a bit, so I thought I'd bring it to you. And it was a big envelope, and it came from, Ken Tyndall, who, by the way, is an NC State grad, class of 1980. If Ken is listening, thank you for this.
Nice.
All right, so this is really, really amazing to me. I'm going to read the note he sent because I'm legitimately blown away by this. First of all, he addresses it as Mr. Gold and then puts Adam in parentheses. Adam would have been fine. Long-time listener, first-time contactor, going through my attic I ran across this from my early years. He's a bit older than me, class of 80. I was Maryland class of 88, so he's a little bit, he's 8 or so years older than me. I think my mom ran into John Lucas, who was a Durham high school legend and became a great player at the University of Maryland, basketball player, actually, and tennis player. You don't see that crossover very often.
No.
Shouts to Wimbledon. But he was a Durham kid. My mom ran into John Lucas at an event and told him of my love of hoops, as I was maybe 15 at the time. Anyway, it might have been younger. Who knows? Lucas sent this program to me. It actually says it's the Maryland basketball yearbook. And I have the envelope. He actually put it in the original envelope with 10-cent stamps.
Oh, look at that.
Back in I guess it was 1975 or 74, or maybe, I don't know when it was. But it was, return addressed by John Lucas.
Wow.
Care of the basketball office, University of Maryland, College Park, Maryland. So I got a Maryland basketball yearbook that I am terrified to leaf through because legitimately it is 50 years old.
Right, yeah.
So you just don't know what the staying power is of a yearbook. And I am blown away. Universities don't do this anymore.
No, they don't.
They don't produce yearbooks. I'm not even sure universities produce media guides, hard copy media guides. And this is probably now over the last 15, maybe 20 years where they started to phase those out.
Yeah.
And I remember the arguments raised by media members that, hey, how can we need these hard copies, even though they would just give you a zip drive? You can put the whole thing right on your laptop. You don't have to store it on your laptop. You just have access to it. Mm-hmm. But I will say this. It is far more inconvenient to get a PDF file of the entire thing than it is to simply be able to flip through the pages. Way more inconvenient, but I'm sure far more cost-effective for the universities. Anyway, yes. I'm blown away by yearbooks.
Very cool.
Right? So I don't have a collection of like really cool type things, but I got somebody sent me, I have a 45 of Meet the Mets.
Oh, nice.
Not a 45, it's an LP, but it's not. It's really just an EP.
Right.
I'll put this with that.
Oh, that'll be
very cool. I don't really I don't have a lot of sports memorabilia at all. I'm not a collector. So this is just very cool. And very quickly, this brings me to something I'll probably talk about Sunday. Our friend Elliot Johnson, right? The company he works for. Actually, I hope I'm allowed to even mention this. If I'm not, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get into great detail. But they represent baseball players.
Okay.
So the Major League Baseball draft, I believe, starts Sunday night. So they're having a little party for player or players that they believe will be drafted in the first round.
That's cool.
And so I'm going to go there and do some Q&As with former players. And I will talk about, as a kid, going to games. And I like people who are my age, you've been there. I talked about the All-Star ballot the other day, right? As a kid, less so as an adult, but as a kid, every single game I attended, we purchased a scorecard.
Yeah.
Now, or a game program. Inside the game program was a scorecard. The game programs were not super expensive. Of course, a lot of things were a lot less expensive, 50 years ago. But, for $1.25, you'd get a game program. There would be articles written about, certain players in the game, be somebody on the cover. There'd be something about the visiting team because they kept producing these for each series.
Yeah.
Anyway, We purchased one for every game that we went to, and I kept score. You keep the box score as you followed along the baseball game.
Nice.
Nobody does that today.
No.
All right, well, old people do it today. I'm with you.
Right.
All right. Like when I go to Durham Bulls games, and I went to one about a month or so ago, the Tigers affiliate was in, and I went with my friend Gordon Miller. People have heard me do the commercials for his mortgage company, Miller Lending. So Gordon's a huge sports fan. So we just had the occasion to go to a game. It was actually around Memorial Day. I think it was after Memorial Day, or before, maybe the week before. It doesn't matter. But the Tigers affiliate, he's a big Tigers fan. Apparently, somebody who pitched in that game is now pitching in the big leagues, and he was so excited. I'm like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, we saw him pitch." I'm like, "You think I remember who pitched?"
No.
I don't remember. Like, my feeling about minor league baseball is that it's fun. It's about what you can eat at the game.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Right? It's about having a baseball game being played in front of me without having to pay attention or think about it.
Yes, preferably with nice weather.
Yeah. Right? We had very good weather. Anyway, my point is I've been to, I don't know, 50 Bulls games since I live here.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the outcome of any game. I have no idea. The Bulls could have lost every game I have ever been to. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I went. Jason Hamill, who pitched for the Cubs, right? Pitched for the Rays. I'm not sure if he threw a no-hitter, if he finished the game or not, but I know he had a no-hitter through 8 in a game I went to.
Oh.
No
wow.
joke. People who were there will remember this. I'm not sure what the outcome was.
Yeah.
Did he complete the no-hitter? Did he pitch the 9th inning because he was a prospect and he had already thrown well over 100 pitches? I have no clue.
Right.
That is just me and how I process minor league baseball, which may or may not be good for business. I think it's probably fine. It's probably neutral.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's the experience of going to games.
It is.
Which is the fun.
And it's safe to assume that the Bulls probably won because they do very well.
They're great.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be undefeated for all I know.
I know.
I literally do not know the outcome of any baseball game or minor league baseball game that I've attended. That would go also for the Mudcats when they were in Zebulon,
yes.
but they're not at Five County Stadium. They're not there anymore, right?
Well, they moved.
They moved.
Like
they moved
a year or two
to
ago.
Wilson.
Yes.
Yes? Yeah. Very cool. All right, so there was just story time.
Nice.
Whatever.
Well, hey, look at that.
All right, we got a lot of stuff to do.
Treating your mouth.
Sure we do. I say that every day. It is a Thursday. It is a college Friday here in now the middle of July.
Or like Don on YouTube said, it's Friday Eve.
Hey, there you go. Very
I
good.
like
Very nice. Speaking of YouTube, you can watch the show.
Yes.
If you are so inclined. Go to YouTube and search Adam Gold Show or 99.9 The Fan, and you can experience all of this. You can see me move my hands when I talk. Also, if you like, share, subscribe, you can do all that stuff, and you can contribute to the show with in one-timers, which we will do at the end of this hour. Mm-hmm. And I think we might even carve out a little time for a mailbag.
Okay.
So we can ask more broad questions. And as I say this all the time, questions that have nothing to do with hockey or sports always get pushed to the top of the queue.
Yeah, that's why I was throwing out some 4th of July ones last time.
There you go. We got all of that. Did I tell you I saw the F1 movie?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And you said you liked it,
I
right?
did. Liked it a lot. And we also binge watched Department Q
which
on
I
Netflix.
still need to watch.
My son is watching House of Cards, which is an older show, which I personally find awful.
Yeah.
Like,
I've not watched
not
that,
good.
so I have no idea.
Like, legitimately not good. I don't understand what the appeal was. I could be wrong. Before we get into issues, when we get to Operation Football, ACC football kickoff, which for us it starts 2 weeks from Tuesday, this past Tuesday. For us, it will start 2 weeks from today when the 3 triangle area schools plus Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Boston College have their day. We're splitting into 3 days. I thought there was a rumor it was going to be 4 days. Lord help us.
We don't need 4.
Well, we might.
Maybe.
But that's just a true sign that the league is way too big.
Yes.
Even though we already have our signs that the league is way too big. Anyway, so maybe to give you a clue, Gio Lopez for Carolina will be down there. In general, the starting quarterbacks are going. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, even though people have been coy about who's going to start at quarter, it's going to be Gio Lopez.
Right.
Bill Belichick will be there, by the way. And Darian Mensah for Duke, who is the transfer from Tulane. He will also be there. C.J. Bailey for NC State. I mean, they're going to be there. So we'll talk to coaches. I mean, who knows if we're going to talk to Bill Belichick. That's going to be wild to see Bill walking around from table to table. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I really don't. I mean, but it's going to be, Mac Brown did it.
He did.
Why wouldn't, and Dabo Swinney does it.
Always.
Why wouldn't Bill Belichick do
He's a
it?
hoot.
I am, just leave it at that.
We'll see.
I hope it happens.
Are we going to see Jordan Hudson in the corner with
Easy.
her I-beams?
Easy.
Watching which table he goes to.
Easy. I don't want to jeopardize any opportunity. We might have to talk to Bill. Look, you've heard me talk about this before. I don't care one single bit about Jordan. I'm not hating on Jordan Hudson.
No.
Her existence in the UNC football sphere interests me zero.
No.
The only thing I care about is the football program.
Yeah.
When we're talking about UNC football, I don't care one bit. Jordan Hudson can be wearing a headset and calling plays for all I care. I don't care. Until it impacts football, I will not care. That's Bill and Jordan and their personal business. And even the stuff that's away from football that deals with, other interests, real estate, book tours. I don't care about that either. Yeah. I am baffled by the attention of this. And I think all of that came at a weird time. Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll get down there for that. We're going to try again with Jason Staples
Fingers crossed.
From inside Carolina. By the way, he's one of 2 Staples on the show today.
Oh, wow.
Andy Staples from On 3. We're going to talk college football with him. Interesting stuff from Big 12 Media Days that is coming out. Deion Sanders, we're going to actually hear some sound bites from Deion here in a minute. But some interesting stuff from, I think, Big 12 Football Media Days. And the fact is that they went first means we're hearing all the stuff coming out of the Big 10, or rather the Big 12. So Andy Staples, second hour. Jason Staples, third hour. David McKenzie, who is an intellectual property attorney, has been on this program a few times. We now have more details from the settlement, ending the lawsuits that were fired back and forth between the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State. We have details about that. And David McKenzie is going to weigh in on that. And I will just simply say this. When I heard about the settlements of the lawsuit, 2 things struck me. One was it's good that this is over because we're not talking about this anymore. And I think there is an actual monetary value, even though it's intangible. But there is a monetary impact, positive impact, on having these things go away. So, and part of the settlement is Clemson and Florida State can't sue. That's part of the settlement, right? The other thing that struck me at the time, and we're going to talk about it with David McKenzie, is that I think this put an end date on college football, the structure of the game as we know it. I think it put a tangible end date on it, and I think that end date is 2030. I talked about this a long time ago. My vision for where college sports was going was that it isn't going to look anything like what we see now. That it's going to ultimately separate from college sports in general. It's going to operate as its own entity, as a professional sport. It's very possible that it could be completely detached from academics as it pertains to the university. We could simply have licensing deals. I mean, my mind is way open to what college football is going to look like down the road. And I think this is leading us to the point where we'll either have massive conference realignment and restructuring of the entire thing or a total separation. It will not look anything like what we've got today because all we're doing right now is piling bad deals and poor management on top of each other. And it leads me to this. The College Sports Commission, which is the enforcement arm now of college football, has just announced that NIL deals, if you are a collective, I don't even know the names of our collectives here, I apologize, but NC State's collective, you're going to pay the quarterback, CJ Bailey. I'm making this up. I'm making up numbers. I'm making up deals. So State's collective, and I think there are actually two of them, they'll pay CJ Bailey $180,000 this year. Boom. Here it is. The College Sports Commission is denying these deals unless there is an obvious tie to a local business. So the collective can't just pay the player. The player, in exchange for that, must do what they believe is work for companies that would equal the value of that payment. And if they don't do it, they are declaring that illegal and you can't do that. Good luck enforcing it.
Right.
But they're essentially what we're hearing now, what we're seeing now from the College Sports Commission is old school NCAA behavior. There was you could not receive money for your services. There was no pay for play. Now, that's what NIL has been. We all know that, even though that's what it used to be under the table. Now that they've brought everything above board, my guess is they're just going to force schools back under the table. It's the only thing I can guess. They're going to just force schools back under the table, which doesn't make great sense to me in this day and age. But so for the people who think, well, our collectives will just take care of this, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated. And I believe yesterday the 26th lawsuit was filed. Individual lawsuit was filed against the House settlement. 26th individual. We have since the approval.
Yeah.
So we're not that long since the approval. 26 individual lawsuits have been filed. Again, another thing, not surprised, because actually the settlement kind of is illegal. I mean, you can't have a cap unless the other side agrees to the cap. Mm-hmm. It's a self-imposed cap.
Yeah.
And so that is ultimately going to be an issue. And at Big 12 Media Days, they were talking about the Deion Sanders says we need a cap. But almost every other coach, and I don't know if Sanders talked about it or not. We'll hear some of that sound coming up throughout the program. But the coaches are all talking about collective bargaining. That's the solution. How do we make all of this work? Well, we declare the players employees, which they are, and we collectively bargain. Duh.
Yeah.
Will the schools agree to that? No, of course not. All right, let's take a break. David McKenzie is going to join us on the other side. We'll talk about the ACC settlement with Florida State and Clemson and what it really says about how close we are to the end of at least college football as we know it. Next.
Talking sports, dropping truth. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, Carolina Panthers fans, it's Dennis Cox from 99.9 The Fan. We're in the offseason, but it doesn't mean me and my co-host, WREL TV's Chris Lee, take a break from our podcast, Panthers Playbook. In every episode, we'll keep you up to date on Panthers news as training camp approaches, insights on the rookies, the free agents, and the surprises, plus all the insider info on the upcoming season. Follow and subscribe to Panthers Playbook wherever you discover your favorite podcast or watch on YouTube.
Tomorrow brings another holiday that you might not have been aware of. I'm Victoria Vodnecker here from 99.9 The Fan for Law Tigers, and we just had the 4th of July last Friday, but tomorrow is National Motorcycle Day. This is celebrated every year on the second Friday of July, and it's where motorcycle enthusiasts and motorcyclists everywhere spend the day honoring those who ride and highlighting the motorcycle industry's positive impact on local communities. While we celebrate the positive that comes from riding, it's also important to remember who to reach out to if a negative happens. If you're ever in a wreck on your motorcycle that wasn't your fault, make sure to call Law Tigers first before calling your insurance company. At Law Tigers, they're riders too, so they know the value of your bike and your gear and what it's like to go through an accident. Case evaluations are always free, and you won't pay a dime until your case is settled. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS, North Carolina's motorcycle lawyers. Law Tigers is a network of independent law firms who are members of the American Association of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Law Tigers is not a law firm.
Westwood One Sports presents this special tennis update. This Wimbledon has been filled with upsets throughout, especially in the women's singles. 6 of the top 7 seeds out. Not the top seed, Aryna Sabalenka. She was able to work her way to the semifinals. She almost lost in the quarters. She lost the first set, down a break in the third against Laura Siegelman, ranked 104th. And again today, Sabalenka dropped the first set. Amanda Anisimova was then serving for the match at 5-3 in the third, got broken. But when Anisimova broke right back, she had the upset of the world number one. 6-4, 4-6, 6-4. Anisimova is an unlikely finalist. A year ago, she tried to qualify just to get into the Wimbledon field and didn't make it. Will there be another upset in the second semi? Can unseeded Belinda Bencic of Switzerland knock off the 5-time Grand Slam winner Iga Swiatek? They're just underway. Swiatek has won the first game. With this tennis update, John Stapes, Westwood One Sports.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Black isn't just a color. It's the presence of infinite possibilities. It's the moment before everything changes. An invitation to something unforgettable.
I won.
Win up to $4 million with Carolina Black Premier from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 4.18. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
This is
is Adam Gold.
I did love that Rod video with him, though, when he was trying to communicate.
Yeah, you speak hockey.
And he was like, it's okay, you don't need to know this, you know hockey. And I was like, oh, heartstrings. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. In 2 weeks, we will be in Charlotte ACC football kickoff. We will not be there for the day that Commissioner Jim Phillips does his state of the ACC. I am sure there might be maybe a passing reference in his remarks about the dissolution of the lawsuits thrown around between Clemson, Florida State, and the league. Lawsuit, countersuit, blah, blah, blah. It might come up in questioning, but I don't think he will address it first, other than to say, good to have all of that behind us, and I think there is value to that. As for the settlements of those lawsuits, I have my questions, and who better to answer those than David McKenzie, intellectual property attorney, who is taking vacation time out. Man, you were quoted in The State. I know you've been on radio. I go on with the guys in Charlotte every Tuesday. You were on today. So I don't know if I'm batting cleanup or what, but I thank you very much for carving out some time on your vacation. What was your first reaction to, I mean, the settlements came out a while ago, but now we have detail of it. What was your first reaction to the news that it was settled, and has it changed since we got details?
Yes, it has changed. But at first, when I heard of the settlement terms, which were fairly opaque and still are, quite frankly, it was a little bit of disbelief. It sounded like it was something that was incredibly lopsided towards Clemson and Florida State. It seemed to me that the branding initiative, which is, I still believe, to be trailblazing, was certainly leaning their way, and also I would note Carolina's as well. So it was really surprised that they would settle so quickly. They were in round 2 of a 12-round fight.
Right.
I mean, this thing was going on for could have gone on for quite some time, and that may have been where the ACC employed its own genius to find a way to sort of make the power conference come about a little bit faster and the like. But since I've actually had the agreement, which was given to me by a reporter in South Carolina, I was asked to review it by the state newspaper in Columbia. My feelings about it has changed by reviewing the actual legal language that's involved in the settlement agreement, as well as the amendments to the ACC Constitution. There is a couple of reasons. One of the first things that makes this agreement such a trailblazing agreement is indeed the branding initiative, Adam. And that is undoubtedly going to help schools like Florida State and Clemson, but it's also going to help schools like Miami and the University of North Carolina. No question that they stand to gain substantially from this new branding initiative. But more importantly, what it does is that this branding initiative, now I've had a little bit of a chance to review it, it basically lights a fire, or at least ignites a fuse under the hind end of the Big 12, or pardon me, the Big 10 and the SEC. It basically is going to make Greg Sankey's job a lot harder, because he's going to have to explain to Texas and Alabama why it has to subsidize Vanderbilt, when the ACC just told Clemson and Florida State that they no longer has to subsidize BC. So it's just kind of the trailblazing aspect of it is this new branding initiative. And I honestly think all of this may have, and I'm speculating, one of the things you got to realize is that, there are 11 public schools in the ACC, and not a single athletic director of any of those public schools has come out and explained what actually happened, even though those schools are taxpayer funded. And I think that this is an issue when you're talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars at stake that the public really needs to know. So you're left to speculate. And the speculation I would, if I had to do it, would be to say this was to put the pressure on the Big 10 as well as the SEC. They have been talking for months, if not years, about potentially hitting the eject button. Well, this is highly destabilizing for their own good.
David McKenzie is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at McKenzie Law on Twitter, intellectual property attorney. I just want to, you say branding initiative, I want to let people to know basically what that means is that if for those schools who do better in terms of television viewership, and things like that, and there's some performance incentive too. But if you do well in television viewership, you're going to get more of the pie, and this goes for football and men's basketball, which in some ways might also help Duke. And I don't want to ignore the fact, because in men's basketball, they are by far the number one property nationally, not just locally. Nationally, Duke is the number one property there. I've heard you talk about, you and I have talked about this. I always thought that the grant of rights position that the ACC had, which would have held Florida State and Clemson for the duration of the deal through 2036, I thought that legally seemed strong to me. I'm not an attorney. You are. Do you agree that grant of rights was strong? And how shocked are you that the ACC essentially punted it?
The grant of rights agreement was a legitimate contract that was signed by grown adults represented by attorneys, and under which Florida State, Clemson, and a number of other schools took hundreds of millions of dollars under. Not one time did Florida State or Clemson present an actual cognizable contract defense that would have allowed them to escape that deal, and no court in the litigation that spanned 3 jurisdictions ever said that agreement was invalid. It never reached the merits of whether that agreement was invalid. And oftentimes, you make decisions not necessarily based on the law, but rather based on practicality in business. I mean, you can have the legal cards all day long, but if enforcing the legal cards, including on appeal, in your motions practice at the trial court, winning can oftentimes result in business catastrophe. And I think that that's one of the questions that people need to be asking themselves for the ACC. You got to understand that the SEC and Big Ten are essentially looking to acquire new properties for a potential Super League to come in 2030.
Yep.
Would you buy a house, Adam? I mean, would you buy a house with a contested title?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, who would go out and buy a house that had contested titles? And in that sense, it's important to realize that when you have years worth of litigation, and you only have 4.5 years before you need clarity, right? Because this thing is not going to be planned in December of 2029.
Right.
The Super League. It's got to be underway right now. And if the ACC had, 18 or 16 of 18 of its members, 2 of which are in litigation, but all 18 have their media rights under a cloud of litigation, it's the title to that is unclear. And it's just not going to be marketable to the next iteration of whatever the college Super League or college sports is going to look like. Those rights have to be clear, and there has to be clarity. So I think at the end of the day, yes, the grant of rights agreement was a valid agreement, and I will say that until the cows come home. And people can light me up on that not real place called Twitter all day long. Not once did Florida State or Clemson articulate a contract defense. It was a valid agreement. This had to be based on reasons outside of the law, and I'm sure that the Big Ten and SEC has identified a number of properties that it would like to bring into the fold. And it's probable that it only required 2/3 of the ACC, which is 12, to come to an agreement on these things and whether to sign. And once you get to that threshold, which is 12. What would you want to be one of the ones kicking and screaming against the deal, like BC, for example?
Right.
It would make itself completely unmarketable to the next iteration, and nobody would want to acquire it.
David McKenzie is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. When the agreement was announced, again, I don't even know how many months ago it was, but when the agreement was announced, 2 things ran through my mind. First is that there is, whether intangible or tangible, and I think it's tangible, financially, there is benefit to having these lawsuits go away, right? We're not talking about it anymore. We're focusing on the games and the players and the coaches and all of that. And the other thing was, this is all going to come to an end soon. And I've been saying for a long time that I think that we're closer than we believe to an absolute sea change in college football, to the point where I think you cannot even predict what it's going to look like, and it does seem like 2030 that might happen.
it would be naive to think otherwise. And I would note that the settlement agreement itself, or some provision of the ACC Constitution, has that built into it. It has the legal framework and architecture for a Super League. It says that basically if 6 schools come together and decide that they want to join a football-only league, they may do so and yet keep their other sports still in the ACC. So that to me is not just prescient, but it's also accepting the inevitable, and that is the Super League coming. And so I think it also directly addresses, you may remember Brett McMurphy calling the Magnificent Seven, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, that was Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami. What this now does is give those schools, as well as every other school in the ACC, a contractual path forward to get out and to participate in that super conference. And it also really does sort of, put the onus and pressure on the Big Ten and the SEC to let's get clear about this, because they have suggested that they would break off and form their own conference. Right. But how are you going to do that with at least 6 to 7, probably more like 8 properties not being included? So it's so what looks like it was a one-sided deal initially, and it is because of the voting rights that Florida State has and Clemson has. It also, I think, has a hidden genius to it. And it'd be interesting that when you're in Charlotte, Adam, that you ask, or somebody asks Jim Phillips about it, or get somebody, for God's sake, if somebody would just speak up and start leaking to the media about what really happened, it would resolve a lot of ambiguity.
David McKenzie is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Final thing before we let you get back to your vacation. Florida State and Clemson are the winners here because the lawsuits go away. The real winners are, of course, attorneys. I'm not anti-attorney. Billable hours always wins. But who else won here other than Florida State and Clemson?
I think that the larger properties in the ACC won. I think, look, I'll be very complimentary. It's no secret, Adam, that I've sued Carolina left and right, over the last couple of years. But Bubba Cunningham looks like a friggin' effing genius for sitting back and letting this sort of play out. Boo Corrigan did too. I don't think that there is any way that Raleigh down on Jones Street would let UNC and NC State somehow separate. I think that the city would explode. So I think that they are winners as well. Virginia Tech and Virginia are probably winners as well because they bring a lot of mass media market to it. But no question, Clemson and Florida State, they're going to be making a lot more money. But the flip side of that, and sorry, I'm in the middle of nowhere of Vermont.
You're good.
So there's a lot of winners here to this, and you just kind of have to read between the lines. But the biggest winner of all, you got to give it to Carolina. They played this masterfully, and it's no secret that they had attorneys looking into it. Sure. The Carolina Blue matter with the Skadden law firm in New York, and never had to file a lawsuit. Now, you just ask yourself objectively, if Clemson has a few down years, I am from Clemson, South Carolina. That's where my family, my parents were professors there for many, many years. But it just doesn't have the population base that North Carolina has, as well as the brand recognition or anything like that. So if Clemson has a few down years, that whole media distribution revenue model may not actually work too well in its favor.
Correct.
Okay? It doesn't take much. You may remember what Alabama was like before Nick Saban came on. Nobody was following them quite like that, and the eyeballs probably weren't either. And so lots of interesting possibilities here for everybody. It can go up and down. And I'm not sure, Adam, it's going to work, because one of the things that has always made a league, professional or college, successful is an egalitarian model when it comes to revenue distribution. And what I mean by that is equal distribution. And it provides for parity. It's how the Saints are able to compete with the Dallas Cowboys year in, year out, smallest market in NFL. So we'll see. But it seems like the greater concentration of revenue would equal a greater concentration in talent as well. So hopefully the parity will prevail.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get into it, but I'm sure you've been following Cody Campbell, who's the #1 benefactor of Texas Tech, and he wants, and he's going to be, he's going to have some sway on this matter. He thinks that the major conferences and other schools should get together and pool all of their media rights and distributed them evenly. There is no way that Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are going to be on board with that, because that would give up their major advantage, and basically all they're really about is power and money. David McKenzie, at McKenzie Law on Twitter, intellectual property law, and also First Amendment. Man, we could have talked about that too. I appreciate.
We can talk about that.
But probably has nothing to do with ACC football. I thank you very much for your time. Enjoy your vacation in Vermont. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Take care. David McKenzie here on the Adam Gold Show. Look, this was always coming. All of this. All of the stuff that you're hearing out of, like the simple stuff, the stuff that really is about player versus school, that's been coming. It's all tied together. College football, and to a lesser extent, but seriously, college basketball, but certainly more so college football, has been big money pro sports for a long time. And once the big money started pouring in, and we're talking about media money. We're not talking about, booster money. Booster money's always been there. But once the real big media deals started being signed, and schools went from receiving $10 million in shared revenue to $50 million in shared media revenue. Once that happened, oh boy, we were always going to get to this point, and I'm talking about players being paid, legally being paid. We're always getting here. And shame on the NCAA, which really, shame on the schools. We use the NCAA as like a shield, but it's really the schools. It's because the schools are the NCAA. Shame on the schools for being so rigid and anti-player empowerment that they would have essentially prevented athletes from doing what any student could do if they had simply allowed them the right to earn money by who they are 10 years ago. I'm not sure we'd be exactly where we are today. But they didn't, they wouldn't, and here we are. It's going to be crazy. I'm here for it, though. All right, when we come back, we'll do one-timers. Andy Staples will join us next hour, by the way, from On 3. One-timers is next.
Questioning goalie interference calls since day one. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
The North Carolina Healthcare Association invites you to listen to this month's podcast, Conversations on the State of Healthcare. Each year, 3.6 million people in the U.S. delay or skip medical care altogether simply because they can't get to a healthcare provider. From long distances to unreliable public transit to the cost of a tank of gas, it all adds up. LaPonda Edmondson, president of the North Carolina Healthcare Foundation, joins me to talk about how their social impact program is making a difference in Robeson County.
We're investing $900,000 over the course of 3 years in Robeson County. Our aim there is to be able to support these projects that address transportation as a social driver of health.
You can learn more and join our latest Conversations on the State of Healthcare wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and learn more by visiting nchealthcare.org.
Did you know? Atlantic hurricane season runs through November. From gathering necessary supplies to planning an evacuation route, now is the time to make sure you and your family are prepared. And if a storm damages our electric system, local public power providers are ready to respond and restore power quickly and safely. As a public power customer, you benefit from having an electricity provider that restores power faster than other providers do. Visit electricities.com for storm preparation tips and resources.
Make this your best summer yet by having fun while staying active and engaged. AARP can help. Find AARP events near you by visiting aarp.org/local. That's aarp.org/local to find both in-person and virtual events. You can also learn more about living your best life by listening to AARP Without Limits, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Ask any college student. If it wasn't for the last minute, lots of assignments wouldn't get done. So if you haven't figured out your plan for college and how to pay for it yet, don't worry, you've still got time. And with the next NC scholarship, you can still get money to pay for most or all of your tuition. To apply, just fill out your FAFSA and you could get $3,000 for community college or $5,000 for public university, and possibly more. See how easy it is to apply at nextncscholarship.org.
If you are on Medicare, scammers may target you to steal your identity. Remember, Medicare will never call you asking for personal details. The NC Department of Insurance Senior Medicare Patrol program is here to protect you from fraud and provides you with knowledge to stay safe. Contact SMP today at ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Adventure affordably with a membership to the North Carolina Zoo and Botanical Gardens, open year-round. Your membership purchase helps save wildlife and wild places, plus activates valuable perks such as guided tour and gift shop discounts and access to member-only events and picnic areas. Best of all, your North Carolina Zoo membership is recognized by over 150 zoos and aquariums nationwide, so you can take your savings on the road. Learn more about this unique investment at nczoo.org.
This is Adam Gold.
I told Tim, who does the afternoon show, I said, I'm about to turn this game around. We need Cheez-Its. So I went to go get magical lucky Cheez-Its, and guess what? Boom. Period 2, tied it up. And then at the end of the game, I still had like 8 Cheez-Its in the cup left, and I said, lucky Cheez-Its.
There you go.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Andy Staples from On 3. He will join us next hour. We'll talk about Cody Campbell. That's the billionaire who is the chief funding behind Texas Tech and their athletics, and how he is trying to legitimately level the financial college football playing field, college sports playing field. He has made billions in business, and he seems more, well, of course, Texas Tech isn't part of the SEC or the Big Ten, so of course he wants it level. I don't know that you would find if Cody Campbell were the benefactor of, say, Texas A&M, if he would be that interested, but he's got the billions, so he is apparently interested. We'll talk to Andy Staples about that coming up next hour. Right now, one-timers.
Okay, so I know that there's some on our YouTube stream. You can also at me on Twitter. Just there's V_2_ the Victoria. That's me. And you also got good feedback with McKenzie on here too.
Yeah.
So that was a great segment. And if you missed it, it will be on the podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, David McKenzie's excellent.
Absolutely. But looking at Twitter, first up from Chuck. Adam, who is your pick to win Women's Euro? And then they also wanted my opinion too. I have not done any research. I do not know, but let me go with Spain.
Yes. Spain is the favorite.
Yeah.
I have loved what I have seen from France. And France is fast.
Yeah.
Spain is the best. France is really good as well. England did bounce back with an absolute, demolition of the Netherlands yesterday. But to me, Spain is the favorite. But I am curious. I want to see how France progresses in this. So, yeah, Spain is probably going to be your winner. But France also very good.
All right, this one from Chris on YouTube. He says, another delusional one-timer, but I'm clearly not alone with the Natchez coming home party with the free agency class stack next off-season. Could Carolina pull it off and bring Natchez back?
I doubt it.
I do miss spelling Canes with Natchez.
I love Marty.
Yeah.
I'd be all about Natchez coming back. But I don't think that's happening. I think Colorado will probably, I don't know if they'll move him now, but I don't think Colorado wants to lose Natchez for nothing. And I don't believe they have any intention of giving him a, $9 million a year deal, which I think for somebody who's going to score in the neighborhood of 70 points, and that's probably where Natchez is going to be, I don't think Colorado's going to give him $9 million.
Well, and next up we've got someone who said they've always despised Zibanejad because he burns the Canes every time in the playoffs, but could that be an option at center? Rumors are he could be traded.
Could be traded. I don't think Carolina's going to pursue a Mika Zibanejad. There's a ton of risk when you're talking about a player who is already in his 30s coming off a bad year. I don't think and he's got a lot of money left on his contract. I don't think they're in the position to do that, at least yet. So I would say no. We will do a mailbag later on next hour. So we've got some strays hanging on.
Making more sports sense than social media trolls. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
When you look at the Carolina Hurricanes right now, at the end of last season to where they are right now, this team has gotten better. Nikolai Ehlers, 6-year contract, $8.5 million a year. They didn't break the bank, but they got a top-line forward that they needed. Keandre Miller, they got younger, they got faster, they got stronger on the blue line. They got a better team now, but they still have moves they can make.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
At Wells Fargo, we know what got you into your business. Whether it's manufacturing, running a restaurant, or your business from home. What you didn't get into your business for was banking. But luckily, Wells Fargo offers business checking, payments, and lending all in one place, in your neighborhood and on our app, so you can focus on doing what you love. Wells Fargo, you're good at business, we're good at business banking. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/business. Terms apply. Wells Fargo Bank and a member FDIC.
Fill your tank. Don't drain your wallet. Sam's Club lets you save time at the pump with Scan and Go checkout at Sam's Club fuel stations. Just scan the QR code on the pump and pay. Visit your local Sam's Club today.
Joining us on this episode are real Spectrum customers, Monique and Greg. We hear your family is a big fan of Spectrum.
Family of 4, we have about 18 devices last time I counted.
2 teens require a lot of speed. Everything they do is online.
There's gaming, there's streaming. Spectrum is perfect for us. I mean, it just seamlessly connects all our devices with lightning speed.
Sounds like Spectrum is really committed to keeping you connected.
It's amazing.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do you get? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone, available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time.
but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop, but the perfect time for a Bojangles Bird Dog. A seasoned to perfection Bojangles Chicken Supremes, dill pickles, and Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all tucked inside a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 Bird Dogs for just $5 or 2 Bird Dog Combo for just $8.25. Available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's Bo time.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
Get in the hole! That's ritchielaw.com.
Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
We're still looking. We'd like to add another big or two if we could find the right guys. At this point, you need a little bit of luck, whether it's a foreign guy or some other things that happen. We have our antennas up and are looking, so I feel solid about what we've done. We've got a solid team. You know, I think with another piece or two, it could be a really, really good team. But you know, we'll see what happens between now and August 17th.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. That right there, Will Wade. We're actually going to hear from Will Wade here on another matter in a second. I think we have, basketball is a little bit further down the road. Football begins basically in 6 weeks, college football. Basketball, the season doesn't start till the beginning of November, so an additional, 2.5 months away. But in North Carolina, UNC football, we're going to talk about that in the third hour, and NC State basketball, absolutely fascinated to see how these two seasons unfold. We'll get to football again. Jason Staples is going to join us in our 2 o'clock hour, our third hour. Some places it's time shifted. Hi, Charlotte. So in the second hour tonight, you'll get Jason Staples from Inside Carolina. So I'm interested to see what North Carolina football is going to look like. Bill Belichick and everything, all the player shuffling that's gone on there. But man, I am absolutely intrigued by what Will Wade has done at NC State. Basketball should be fun in Raleigh. A, the way they play, and B, I think you can reasonably expect, or hope, expect is maybe not the right way of putting it. I think you can reasonably hope that NC State is a top 4 team in the ACC. And coming off a year in which you didn't make the ACC tournament, wow. I think that's awesome. So let's get into our second look at the news of the day. And just like yesterday, where day 2, we presented some of John Shire's press conference, and we'll get more of this later. Here's Will Wade. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Will Wade went about the business of shaming UNC for, air quotes, misusing Van Allen Lubin? Well, here's Will on Val.
It's been great. He's very, very consistent. He's reliable. He's consistent. He's everything we thought he would be. His three-point shot's getting better. I think he'll revert back to how he was when he played for Coach Stackhouse at Vanderbilt, where he had his best year statistically, shooting it from 3. But we got to give him a little more help down there. I mean, look, he's done a great job. He's been a warrior for us. But we got to get him a little more help.
I would say NC State has not lost a game with Van Allen Lubin in the lineup. They haven't played yet. But, again, I'm absolutely fascinated by what Will Wade is building there. All right, a lot of today's show is focused on college football. Talked to David McKenzie last hour about the lawsuits being settled between the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State. And what's happening in this hour is we're going to talk a lot about what they're talking about at Big 12 Media Day, what we'll be talking about at ACC Media Day, and that is how the players are treated. You know, that treated as doing a lot of lifting here because there's so many elements of this story. So let's get to some of the Big 12 stuff. Deion Sanders, coach of Colorado, this is going to be an interesting year. Doesn't have his son at quarterback. Doesn't have Travis Hunter, who did everything, who was the second pick of the draft. His son was the 5th round pick of the Cleveland Browns. Bizarre. And Deion is very old school and is not happy.
Let's do something about the uniforms. We got guys out there in backer shorts. That makes me sick because I'm a football guy. Like I played this game at a high level, and I have so much respect for this game. And how can we allow guys out there in backer shorts? No knee pads, no nothing, literally pants up under their thighs, and that's cool. So I think there should be a fine implemented for that stuff, and let's have more respect for this tremendous game.
Doesn't like the fact that the guys don't wear the full football pants like they used to? Was he calling them banker shorts? I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what he said.
No clue.
That is so funny. All right, Dion, what would you change about the game?
There's got to be a salary cap on this stuff because this stuff is going crazy and nobody know where it's going to land, where it's going to end, and you have so many different doors. It's like I would see a player that said he got an offer from another school, and I'm trying to figure out why you guys haven't investigated and how is that possible when the guy's not in the portal? How's that? Now, if that was one of my players, you guys would be all over it. I'm trying to figure out how can somebody say, you got a $5 million offer? How? And the kid is not in the portal. So I think we need to be upright and upstanding. Secondly, I like the professional rules to be implemented in college. They're getting ready to be pros, so let's go 2 feet in, on the catches. Let's mark the foul if it pass interference. Let's do the same thing the pro game is. Let's do it to college.
100% about that last one. Dion can miss me with if we did it, this would happen. I'm not interested in that, but I've said this about basketball too. The game should be the same. They should be played the same way. We should have the same rules. We should have quarters in basketball. Football should have the same rules. We absolutely do not need 2 different rules for college and pro football. All right, as for the salary cap, Myron Metcalf, who works for ESPN, says, and that ain't happening.
We're never going to have a salary cap, and I think the House settlement is about as close as we will get. We have a situation where the power conferences are all getting about $20 million that they can spend on their athletes however they want to spend it. I don't know that it will get more defined than that, and that number will grow over time. You're not going to be able to stop these third-party deals and collectives completely. It's just not going to happen. They've tried. There's been too many lawsuits, and at the end of the day, even with the new system, they don't know what to do with some of these third-party deals. So I think you're going to have to live with the reality that the schools may have a quote-unquote salary cap and what they can spend, but a kid being able to go out and make $3-4 million on his own, you can't stop that.
All right. He's right. There won't be a salary cap unless there's collective bargaining, and then there will be. But here's how the College Sports Commission, the new investigative arm of the NCAA, is going to stop those NIL deals. It's called Valid Business Purpose, VBP. All deals with collectives, third parties, must demonstrate a legitimate commercial rationale, including evidence of using the student-athlete's name, image, and likeness to promote a good or a service being offered to the public for profit. So you've got to prove that you are doing something for the money that you get from collectives. You got to prove that there is a commercial entity within that. As for the enforcement of that, I agree. That will be difficult to implement. All right, real quick, final thing. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State head football coach, on the college football model, if it goes to 16, of 5 conference champions and 11 at large.
I really didn't have much input because they start talking about a lot of numbers, and that was over my head. But then as I listened to it and heard from all the other coaches, it made a lot of sense from the standpoint of, don't we all want to play the game and decide who should get in the end, and not just set it up to where certain conferences get in whether they don't play as well as other schools, because ultimately we're trying to find the best teams, whatever that number is, to get in a playoff, seed them appropriately, and then let them play for a championship. And so I'm in agreement with the commissioner, and it's by far the best way. I understand the backlash. Well, what if you only get one team in? Well, then the other teams need to play better. That's what I would say to Oklahoma State. That's what I would say to me as a head coach.
I just don't disagree with anything he said other than the pretending to not understand the numbers. I mean, we're not talking about calculus here. I mean, the numbers were just, there's nothing to not understand about it. Zero. But shouldn't it always be about the merit? Imagine an NCAA tournament in which, oh man, the ACC's been the best league. So the ACC will, their top 7 teams will automatically get in. We would have had, how many teams would have gotten in last year that didn't belong? One already did. All right, when we come back, Andy Staples on 3, who talked to a multi-billionaire that is going, in his mind, to save college sports. Next.
Talking sports so you don't have to pretend to know stuff. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold, and I know the hurricane season came to an end. Another year with a loss to Florida in the Eastern Conference Finals, 2 of the last 3. But it's been a great year, and it's going to be a great summer with all that cap room the Hurricanes have. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, from free agency to trades to the draft. We'll have player interviews, special sit-down with Rod Brindamore that he doesn't even know about yet. He'll do it, don't worry. Just stay tuned to the Canes Corner podcast on YouTube. Search Canes Corner and wherever you get your podcast.
Out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt? You can pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated the kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the BBB and have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Their service is off the charts. Call now to start the conversation. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760. Get debt relief now. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166171 on approved credit. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Westwood One Sports presents their special tennis update sponsored by Fidelity Wealth Management. Wimbledon began with 4 Americans among the top 10 seeded women's players, but Coco Gauff and Jess Pegula went out in the first round, then Madison Keys, then Emma Navarro. Left standing, Amanda Anisimova, the 23-year-old, seeded 13th, and today she pulled off the big upset. Beat top-seeded Aryna Sabalenka in the semifinals, 6-4, 4-6, 6-4. It was only 2 years ago that Anisimova took a break from tennis, citing mental health concerns.
To be honest, if you told me I would be in the final of Wimbledon, I would not believe you. at least not this soon, because, I mean, it's been a year turnaround since, coming back, and to be in the final is just indescribable, honestly.
Ana Samoa will be back on center court in Saturday's final, and it's going to be against Iga Swiatek as she is steamrolling Belinda Bencic, 1 game from victory. John Stashower, Westwood One Sports.
With Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor gets to know you and your goals to build a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Backed by a team of specialists, they'll analyze all your accounts, even the ones they don't manage, to keep an eye on taxes and provide proactive portfolio insights that can help you unlock your wealth's full potential. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, faucets, vanities, doors, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through July 18th. Not a member? Join My Lowe's Pro Rewards for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have your phone first, before the cab pulls away.
Hey, thanks, man. No, wait, my phone! Come back! It's got my boarding pass, credit cards, phone numbers, my life! Come back!
Checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This is Adam Gold.
Soap attracts dirt, right? That's what soap does. It attracts dirt. Right now, Bill Belichick is soap. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's soap.
Yeah.
He's attracting all this dirt.
Or he's like an overripe banana, and it's attracting all these gnats.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria is producing the program. 2 weeks from today, we will originate this show from, I believe it's the Hilton in Uptown Charlotte, ACC Media Day, where we will get the 3 Triangle schools, plus Clemson, plus Virginia Tech, plus Boston College. They're still in the league. Still in the league, right? They're not going to get as much money, but that's all right. Boston College is still doing better than Boston College would have done otherwise. Andy Staples, I don't know if Andy's going to be there or not. He was just at Big 12 Media Days. On 3, which is Dynamite, does the show with Ari Wasserman, Andy_Staples on Twitter. You talked to a big-time billionaire who's going to save college sports. We're going to get to that element of it in a second. But thank you very much. How was Big 12 show?
Big 12 was awesome. Big 12 understands the assignment. They realize when you're not in the SEC and the Big 10, maybe don't schedule your media days on the same days as one of those conferences. The ACC, I guess, did not get the memo because they are trying to go head-to-head with the Big 10, and I can tell you who's going to win that one.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let me get to, I guess, an element of why Cody Campbell is so important. Cody Campbell is the multi-billionaire, and I think he just sold one of his energy companies for like $4 billion, that has really been behind Texas Tech getting deep into the NIL game. Yep. I'm very curious, and maybe you talked about it with him. I didn't get through all of the conversation with Cody Campbell. But when the College Sports Commission says that all NIL deals with the third party, the collectives, have to have a valid business purpose, how does that impact what Cody Campbell, and it's not just him, what all of the collectives are doing?
Well, they're going to have to figure out a way to do that, or somebody's just going to sue the College Sports Commission.
Right.
Because here's the thing. You can't tell me how much I can pay somebody. Sorry, this is America.
Right.
Now, the player and the school can't sue over that because the school opted into the House settlement, which allows them to do the revenue sharing piece of it. the player, by picking a school that opted into the House settlement, also opts into the House settlement. So they have to go to arbitration with anything that the CFC does. The person who is paying on the deal, the NIL deal, does not. They're not bound by anything. They're just going to go to court and say, these people have colluded to say that I can't pay this person what I think they're worth, and that's a violation of the Sherman Act, and the court will agree with them.
It seems that simple, except, and this is what I have said to everybody I have spoken with. Does the NCAA employ attorneys? Because I'm not entirely sure that they do.
They pay them a fortune, but the NCAA attorneys did not come up with this. What's funny is this is the conferences trying to recreate the NCAA by another name and not understanding that they're still breaking the same law. And the only way to not break that law would be collective bargaining, or Congress says you're exempt from the Sherman Act, which I don't think they're going to do.
No.
So they got to figure it out. But the Cody Campbell thing's interesting because Cody Campbell is funding a lot of the Texas Tech roster aggressive expansion. But here's the thing. Cody Campbell's also got an organization called Saving College Sports.
Yes.
What he would like to do ultimately, which I think the ACC and the Big 12 schools would be very much behind, and obviously all the Group of 5 schools would be very much behind, what he wants to do is kind of unlock some hidden television revenue that would make everybody more money. But he wants it to kind of be codified into everybody who's in the FBS now is still in the FBS. They're still at the highest level. Like, you're not cutting off the top 40 programs and they're going to go do their own thing. He does not want that to happen. Now, the SEC and the Big Ten don't like that because they like this power gap. They like this revenue gap. And his thing is, look, you'll still have the gap. It'll just be everybody makes some more. And it's interesting because it actually involves an antitrust exemption, but it's not the same one that all the schools keep lobbying Congress for. This would be a very limited one. There's a law called the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961, and it's what allows NFL teams, Major League Baseball teams, NBA teams to sell all their television rights as one. So this is how some other football league isn't going to sue the Falcons and the Cowboys for collusion, because they can't, because the Falcons and the Cowboys are allowed to get together as NFL teams and sell as one. If you sold college football TV rights as one, it's probably worth twice as much money as they're all getting now, and because you can control the supply, and that's what they're trying to accomplish on that. And now it's interesting because Cody Campbell has the ear of Donald Trump.
Yeah,
and so that's if Donald Trump does jump in on college sports, Cody Campbell's the person he's going to listen to. But what Cody Campbell wants on that front is actually kind of opposed to what he's doing with Texas Tech. Like, he still thinks players should get paid.
Yep.
He still wants that to be market-based. But there would obviously be some limits on it in his ideal world. And right now, and this is his thing, if you ask him, he'll tell you. He's like, I want this other thing, but if this is going to be the system now, we're going to take advantage of it as best we can.
Yeah, that just sounds smart to me. You play by the rules that are in front of you, and again, I think the referees in this case with the College Sports Commission, I look at this and I absolutely laugh. Again, I just wondered. I mean, I know they're paying attorneys because they keep losing and they keep settling out of court.
It's so funny to me. Like, they're like, okay, the NCAA is not working, so what are we going to do? And they get together, and you just imagine all these millionaires getting together, and like I just imagine them in a big huddle with their arms around each other's shoulders, and they're like, okay, ready, break, and then like, okay, here's what we came up with. The NCAA again.
Same thing. When back years ago, the movement, we're going to abolish the NCAA, we're going to pull out, we're going to do our own thing. I'm like, it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be with fewer schools. It's going to be the same thing. Andy Staples from On3 is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, so you say that pooling all revenue, when you say hidden TV revenue, I mean, is there really there's a lot of revenue being thrown around with the SEC and the Big Ten. And even, look, the ACC just distributed $50 million to each member institution. So even the ACC with 18 schools, although some of those schools are not getting anything, the ACC still generating a lot of revenue too. Is there more revenue to be thrown around?
Yeah. The NFL makes $10 billion a year in television revenue, and they don't – so that's, I have to say, 5 times as much as college football. They don't have 5 times the viewers as college football. They make more per dollar because they can control the supply, or more per viewer because they can control the supply. And college football, they can't portion it out because if you're the SEC, you can only ask for so much money from ESPN because when the Big Ten deal comes up next, ESPN be like, well, the SEC, you're too expensive, so we're just going to buy the Big Ten instead. And so they can pit them against one another. And if they're selling as one, if it's all the FBS schools working together to sell their rights, and like, okay, you're going to get this many SEC games, you're going to get this many Big Ten games, you're going to get this many ACC games, you're going to get this many Big 12 games, and you're like, this network gets this network gets this, and you can control that and leverage them all against each other, you can make more per viewer. Probably, I don't know if it's twice as much as they make now, but I think it's significantly more than they make now.
But then they'd have to share that to a certain extent with a lot more schools.
Right, and it's one of those things, like in if you talk to Cody Campbell about it, he's like, it's a rising tide floats all boats thing. Like the SEC and the Big Ten don't lose money on the deal; they make more money on the deal. So, and his thing is, are you going to turn down a deal that makes you more money? Who does that? And the answer is people in college sports, because they've done that for years. Like the playoff always would have made more money than the BCS,
right?
But they wouldn't do it because people are so afraid of losing whatever power they've accumulated.
Andy Staples is joining us from On3. It really speaks to that maybe the two conferences we're talking about here, the SEC and the Big Ten, are more about the power of having more than having more than what they've got now.
And think about it. Let's go back, because we're about the same age.
Yeah.
So
well, I think I'm older, but that's fine.
Yeah, let's remember the late 90s. The SEC and the ACC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the Big East even didn't feel all that different back then. Like there were certain, obviously some SEC and Big Ten programs that were more marketable than anywhere else, but you had Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12. Having Miami and Florida, ACC gets Miami and Florida State, and so you thought, okay, they're not that different. They feel very different now, and I think that's like the SEC and the Big Ten have worked very hard to create that power gap, and they probably don't want to give it up. Like if I am Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti, I can't blame them for feeling the way they feel. That doesn't mean it's good for the sport.
Well, that's been my contention throughout this entire, I guess, the last 8 or 10 years, is that the people who are running, and I think it's more so the SEC than the Big Ten. To me, the Big Ten has stumbled into the money. Like they found the money on the sidewalk. The SEC has actually built it by being incredibly amazing in football at not just one spot, but like 6 or 7 spots.
Putting out an incredibly compelling product. I mean, like the drama of an SEC football season as a television product is pretty spectacular when you really boil it down. And they've done a good job of marketing that. I think, Big Ten's interesting because it's the size of Starbucks, but it's run like a mom and pop coffee shop, and they can't quite figure out how to do it. And Tony Petitti's supposed to be the guy who brings it into the corporate era, and he's trying, but he's doing it as a former TV exec, and all you're getting now is he and Greg Sankey can't seem to agree on what the playoffs look like. So it is really, really messy right now. Probably about as messy as it's been.
Yeah, a ton of things I want to talk about. Let's just close on the playoff with Andy Staples from On3 Sports at Andy_Staples. Well, the first of 2 Staples we'll have on the program. Jason Staples covers Carolina for Inside Carolina.
Oh, there you
is
go.
going to join us next hour. Yeah,
Doc.
You are the first
Doc Staples
of our two Staples.
Not related, by the way.
I was going to ask Jason. I wasn't going to lower you to that level. But
it's a very uncommon name, and so like the only famous Staples are musicians. You've got the Staples that Mavis and Pops. I'll take you there. Vince Staples is an excellent rapper, and then there's just like me and Doc Staples. We're doing okay. There's an Andy Staples who's a golf course architect who's way more successful than I am. And then there's also an Andy Staples who's a bass player from Britain who gets hired to work on all these great albums. So I'm just trying to become the best Andy Staples I can be.
The Andy Staples who is a golf course architect I've never heard of, and I'm a huge geek when it comes to that. So I think you're already ahead of him.
I get his I get tweets intended for him sometimes, and he gets a lot more tweets that are intended for me, and I feel bad for him because he's just trying to design a good sand trap, and here's some Clemson fan mad about something I said about Dabo.
It's fine.
So.
It's all good. You I don't know. You probably get more engagement. So let me get to the playoff because it does speak to the power element. And I think the SEC has realized their position versus the Big Ten when it comes to whether they 4-4-2. That's to me dumb. But the SEC is like, well, let's just set our conference champions and have the last 11 be at large, assuming that we're going to 16. And if I were the SEC, this is what I would be for, because I'm confident that I'll get minimum of 4 each year, even though we only got 3 and the Big Ten got 4 last year in the 12-team field. But the SEC will almost always get more teams than everybody else. But the Big Ten wants the guarantee, and that to me says a little bit about insecurity.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that predates this commissioner. Kevin Warren wanted that when they were designing the 12-team field, and they said, this is when the Pac-12 still existed, so you're going to have 6 automatic bids because 5 power conferences and 1 group of 5. Kevin Warren wanted it delineated that these are the conferences that will get automatic bids, that the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, and Pac-12 would get automatic bids. And Greg Sankey and Bob Bowlesby, who has been the Big 12 commissioner, were like, why would we do that? That's just going to get us sued. Like, why would we put that in writing? Like, our champ's going to get in anyway.
Right.
We don't need to do that. And so the Big Ten definitely wants the certainty. And a lot of it is because Tony Petitti wants to create these end-of-season games where instead of a conference championship game, you have these playoff play-in games. So, like, for the Big Ten and the SEC, his vision is they're 1 and 2, they're in the playoff. They're done. So you finish number 1 or number 2 in the Big Ten, the SEC. Game 12, your season's over. Now just get ready to go to the playoff. You then have number 3 play number 6 and number 4 play number 5 on what used to be championship weekend, and the winners of those advance into the bracket. And, I mean, those would be compelling games, but think about how long it just took me to explain that.
Well,
You're
I'm
not
patient.
growing the sport that way.
I'm very patient. I think that it would actually damage college football as
People
a
will
whole.
be like, it's so stupid. Why
Yeah.
is there not a conference championship game?
Right. Look, and schools make a fair amount of money off their conference championship games. Look, I get Brett Bielema talking about, we'll discuss what the SEC wants when they go to 9 conference games. I frankly don't see the difference between 8 and 9.
Will go to 9 if there were automatic bids, and that's what some of the SEC ADs said. If the Big Ten gets it once, SEC's fine with going to 9 because it doesn't matter.
Right.
But if it's 5-11 or 16-0 or whatever it is, then they'll probably stay at 8. And this is what I asked the Big Ten people, because and Brett Bielema would be a great person to ask this of. Which SEC team would you trade your 9-game schedule for? Their 8-game schedule.
Right.
The answer is Missouri. That's the only one you would. But you would not trade other than Missouri's, the other 15 8-game SEC schedules, you would rather play your 9-game Big Ten schedule.
Yeah, Indiana probably would not have survived Georgia's or Alabama's schedule.
Go look at Oklahoma's last 7 games this year. It is the most brutal stretch I have ever seen a team have to play.
I wonder if they wanted to go back to the Big 12 after all of that. Andy Staples, I appreciate your time. On 3 Sports at Andy_Staples. Enjoy the summer. I know you're going to be busy anyway because we're gearing up for college football, but I thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Adam. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Andy Staples here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, just a couple of real quick things. Then we'll have time for kind of an extended one-timers with some mailbag. So if you have some questions, by all means, throw them at us. The questions about things other than sports, we move them up to the queue. And we're trying to have fun. So nothing serious, please. It is about power more than it's about money. What is going to happen with the playoff next? And honestly, that folds into what we talked about yesterday with Mike DeCourcy about expanding the NCAA tournament. That isn't about money. It's about power and control. Because if it was about money, it would just mean that, oh, look, the networks want to give us more money if we'll expand. But the networks don't really want it because they don't believe that there is appetite for CBS and Turner, who own the broadcast rights to the NCAA tournament. They don't believe that it's worth significantly more money if the tournament goes to 72 or 76 or 78. They'll probably be willing to make everything whole with more games, a few more games, but they don't think that it's worth expanding because, oh man, it's worth so much more money. That's not the point. It is about the bigger conferences controlling who gets in. To me, that's why, and we see it specifically with the request from the Big Ten to have 4 guaranteed spots. How about 1 guaranteed spot and everybody else, like the teams that get that 1, earns their way in by how they play? All right, should we do a mailbag?
You've got mail.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's see here. Some questions that we didn't get to for one-timers. Nope, we did the Savannah Jad one.
Yes.
So, next up, with the Open Championship starting next week, how do you rank the men's PGA majors from best to worst and why?
All right. The U.S. Open is the hardest to win. It's always been my favorite major. Even if my favorite players don't often win it. Rory McIlroy, man, should have won last year and the year before. Hard. So U.S. Open is 1. The Open Championship is 2. I think the Open Championship is the most fun of the majors. A, for that. Also, B, you don't have to wait. You wake up in the morning, and heck, Thursday and Friday, it's half over by the time you get up.
Yeah.
I love the Open Championship on television more than any of the other majors. U.S. Open's my favorite. Open Championship next. The Masters after that. I know people love the Masters, and I'm not knocking the Masters. They're all amazing. There are no losers here. And they all have their own style. Except for the 4th one, the PGA, which is, to me, a really good golf tournament. It's a major, and it carries major championship pressure, but it is the most similar to just a golf tournament. It would like to be the U.S. Open, but it doesn't want to be hard like a U.S. Open. So it generally, you see the winning scores almost always like in the mid to high teens. And it's just like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be really hard? Or do you want to be, it's the major. So, actually, I think the Players' Championship is probably a more difficult tournament to win than the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
But, so that is my ranking. U.S. Open, Open Championship, Masters, and the PGA. Probably spent more time on that than I should have.
No, it's okay. That's how you answered it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the answer. With one-timers. That's the answer. So when you ask a question, I'll give you an answer.
All right. Well, one that was mentioned or thrown out a couple days ago was from Micah, where he wanted to know if you listen and or participate in the numbers game on the drive with Tim in the afternoon ever, and if you do or don't, do you think you could get a perfect score?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I've heard it. I've heard it, but I have not played along. Other than when I'm listening to it, I know the answers.
Yeah.
So, and I could do it probably for a lot of sports.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've said this before. As a kid, I knew everybody's name and number on every Major League Baseball roster. If you asked me to right now name the Mets roster,
yeah,
no way I get more than 14 players. No way. Zero chance. I don't even know who their starting lineup is. The Mets started a catcher. I mean, they're playing right now. The Mets have a catcher who basically starts every game now because they sent one of my favorite Mets, Francisco Alvarez, in the minor leagues. I couldn't name you their two catchers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody named Torrens is the Mets starting catcher. Don't know.
Yeah.
Never heard of him before. So it's just, I've kind of fallen away from the minutia of it, even though I guess knowing who the players are isn't minutia. I know the game, but I don't know the players playing it.
Yeah. Well, we have another one. This is about the Canes. In your opinion, what is the trade value for Svetch, KK, or Blake if we make a move mid-season for a center?
A, depends on how they're playing. B, depends on areas of the other team that they would value. One of them is a center. Two of them are not. Yeah, it's just there's no way to legitimately answer that question where you could be right. Because again, if Andre isn't playing well, his value's toast. If he's playing well, he ain't getting traded.
Mm-hmm.
That's bottom line. Yeah, I think if this is a huge year, maybe not a big year for Andre personally, it is an enormous year for the Hurricanes with regards to how Andre plays. They need him to be the Andre that they have anticipated him being for a long time. That doesn't mean he needs to score, 40 goals. They need a consistently good season from Andrei Svechnikov. What we saw in the first two rounds of the playoffs, it doesn't have to be quite that goal-scoring dominant, but he needs to be close to that. Otherwise, man, this is year 8.
Yeah.
At some point, you go, all right, this is who he is. I think it's a huge year.
Yeah. Well, with no sports going on, best summertime activity.
Gin and tonic.
That's it.
The gin and tonic. Yeah,
I've heard you're a fan. I've never had one before.
Really?
Never.
It's the best summer drink. Look, I know. I put that on Twitter. I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and Will Pelagic, our friend from Charlotte, said Moscow Mule.
Okay, I've had those.
I have not had a Moscow Mule, but you know what? I love the cup, the bronze
or
the
have
copper
the real
cup,
copper. Mm-hmm.
Right? The copper cup.
Yep.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Now you put a gin and tonic in that, I'm there.
Game changer.
But yes, I am a big fan of the gin and tonic. I have a question here from Chef Wolf. This will be our last one, then we'll break. Unless you have one over there that we have to get. But yes, my favorite summer activity is gin and tonic.
Nice.
Like 2 of them, and then I'm
You're
done.
good sleeping.
Yeah, I'm snoring on the couch. All right, from Chef Wolf. This is for both of us.
Oh.
Thoughts on the National League Central race and why the Milwaukee Brewers are the best team in the best division in baseball.
Oh, I know what he's doing.
So, I have no idea what's going on here, but I don't know if the Brewers are the best team. I think the Brewers are really good.
They are.
Really good.
Best team in the league, though? No. I'm biased.
I would not be surprised if we get to the end and the Brewers are in the World Series.
Maybe.
I would not be shocked. I think they have excellent, young, dominant pitching.
MLB playoffs gets crazy. So that's just as hard to predict as hockey sometimes.
I'm not even, at this point, relying on wild, crazy things happening in the playoffs. I think we could get to the playoffs and look at the Brewers and go, yeah, they might be right there with the Dodgers in terms of who's on the field and how do they perform. I don't even know. Again, I don't know the names. The guy from that we didn't play the clip yesterday, Clayton Kershaw, the kid they just brought up.
Yeah.
Who throws... Clayton Kershaw, who's going into the Hall of Fame, said, I honestly don't know how you hit it.
Right.
I don't know how anybody hits that. And he has been dominant. They got a reliever throwing 100 who looks like he's just lobbing the ball over, and it's going 100.
Skipping stones.
Holy mackerel. They are really, really good. So there you go. He might be right.
Who knows?
I don't know about the best division in baseball, but because I honestly don't. But Brewers are good. So competition.
Got to get hot at the right time,
Cubs.
too. Oh, I know. That's why he's poking the bear.
The difference between when you're talking about the good teams in baseball, just math.
Yeah.
The difference between the best team and the 10th best team is a win every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's just not that much. All right, we'll break. We'll come back. We'll stretch. We'll place bets next.
Chapel Hill to Charlotte, Greenville to Greensboro. Your sports, his state. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
The North Carolina Healthcare Association invites you to listen to this month's podcast, Conversations on the State of Healthcare. Each year, 3.6 million people in the U.S. delay or skip medical care altogether simply because they can't get to a healthcare provider. From long distances to unreliable public transit to the cost of a tank of gas, it all adds up. LaPonda Edmondson, president of the North Carolina Healthcare Foundation, joins me to talk about how their social impact program is making a difference in Robeson County.
We're investing $900,000 over the course of 3 years in Robeson County. Our aim there is to be able to support these projects that address transportation as a social driver of health.
You can learn more and join our latest Conversations on the State of Healthcare wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and learn more by visiting nchealthcare.org.
Did you know? Atlantic hurricane season runs through November. From gathering necessary supplies to planning an evacuation route, now is the time to make sure you and your family are prepared. And if a storm damages our electric system, local public power providers are ready to respond and restore power quickly and safely. As a public power customer, you benefit from having an electricity provider that restores power faster than other providers do. Visit electricities.com for storm preparation tips and resources.
Make this your best summer yet by having fun while staying active and engaged. AARP can help. Find AARP events near you by visiting aarp.org/local. That's aarp.org/local to find both in-person and virtual events. You can also learn more about living your best life by listening to AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Ask any college student. If it wasn't for the last minute, lots of assignments wouldn't get done. So if you haven't figured out your plan for college and how to pay for it yet, don't worry, you've still got time. And with the next NC scholarship, you can still get money to pay for most or all of your tuition. To apply, just fill out your FAFSA and you could get $3,000 for community college or $5,000 for public university, and possibly more. See how easy it is to apply at nextncscholarship.org.
Did you know Medicare fraud is costing us $68 billion a year?
The NC Department of Insurance Senior Medical Patrol Program's goal is to reduce Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. If you suspect any billing or Medicare fraud issues, we're here to help. Contact SMP today at ncshIIP.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
North Carolina ranks second in the nation in potential agricultural land lost by the year 2040. The NC Forever Farms program supports the preservation of family farms through permanent agricultural conservation easements and has received a record number of applications for 3 straight years. Landowners interested in preserving their working farm through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services can learn more by visiting ncadfp.org.
Voted best zoo in the nation, North Carolina Zoo and Botanical Gardens is centrally located in the heart of North Carolina. Bring your family to Asheboro for an affordable day trip or weekend excursion to connect with nature and make cherished memories. Discover towering giraffes, pouncing sandcats, and diving seabirds at the world's largest natural habitat zoo. Roam with rhinos on Zoofari or flutter by the exotic butterfly garden during your next visit. Explore more possibilities at nczoo.org.
Youth Advocate Programs is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration, congregate placement, and neighborhood violence. Learn how at yapinc.org.
This is Adam Gold.
There will be tushes pushed in the NFL in 2025.
Push and tushes.
There you go.
Happy Hump Day!
That's brilliant.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. ESPN's got pickleball on right now.
What? Is Rod Brindamore out there?
ESPN 2 has pickleball. ESPN has Wimbledon. ESPN 2 has pickleball.
Wow. We're there.
Look, I'm not in any way. I've said this the other day. For Father's Day, my older son got me a pickleball set.
Yeah. Have you used it yet?
I've not been outside athletically.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been outside a lot. It's too hot to do anything.
It is.
So I have not yet used it. But I got the 2 paddles. I got, 2 or 3 of the pickle balls.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the real selling point for me. 2, like, old school headbands.
Oh, yes.
Which I don't need to keep the hair out of my eyes, but I think look funny.
Well, it's also good for sweat, considering you melt as soon as you walk outside.
I actually should wear those when I go outside and do things that I do outside.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't yet used the pickleball stuff. But I watch, because there are pickleball courts everywhere now. In fact, at the I used to be a member of a health club in North Raleigh, and they took away an entire gym. They had 2 full basketball courts.
Oh, that's right.
They took away an entire basketball court.
Yes.
And made it pickleball. Like, permanent pickleball. But what are you doing?
This was around the time that guy kept calling for charge on the basketball court. And I remember your frustration with that, and then they turned that into pickleball palace.
So, pickleball to me is like ping pong, where the players stand on the table.
Oh, there you go.
That's what it is. Like, again, I've seen. There's cornhole on TV.
There is.
Why?
It's cornhole season.
Right?
Isn't that a sport in the Olympics now, too? Maybe?
I don't think cornhole is in the Olympics.
I mean, I'll have to Google it.
I really
out.
don't think cornhole is in the
I
Olympics.
hope not.
It's a matter of time before pickleball is.
Oh, yeah.
Matter
Absolutely.
of time. I don't want to knock pickleball. Like the owner of the Hurricanes, Tom Dundon, is one of the owners of this. It's not a pickleball league, but pickleball properties. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. I wasted all of the time for stretching.
That's all right. We can place bets.
Place your bets. Place your bets. Here we are. I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slide.
Okay, you can owe me. I owe you nothing.
I'll save it for tomorrow.
Okay.
And I did Google. No, cornhole is not currently an Olympic sport. However, because of its gaining in popularity, people are pushing for 2032.
It's a matter. It's going to be in the Olympics. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would rather pickleball be in the Olympics than sand volleyball.
Yeah. I like the team volleyball.
Yeah,
That's
real
fun to
volleyball.
watch. Yeah.
I'm all about it. That, by the way, is becoming a much more popular sport.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's
Big
super
time.
fun to watch. But that's not on tonight. However, a lot of baseball.
Yes.
Currently, my Cubs are playing. Let's go Cubs. The Braves are going to be taking on the Athletics, not in Oakland. And I think it's, Sacramento or something like that now. But give me the Braves to win. And I'm going to take the under because it's at 10.5. So that feels excessive. So let's go under. That's plus 185.
All right. Mets and the Orioles right now playing a doubleheader. They're playing the first game today. Right now, the Mets lead 1-0. They're late in that game, I believe. What do I have it? 1-0. I think it's in the bottom of the 7th. Mets lead 1-0. So forget about the first game. Game 2, Mets O's. That is 5 o'clock today. Give me the Mets minus 1.5 and under 10.5 runs, and that combined is plus 360.
All right. Let's see here. Seattle, they are in New York taking on the Yankees. Stroman is pitching today. I'm going to take the Yankees, and I'll take over 9. That's plus 215.
All right. So because I'm not sure I'm going to have a chance, well, I'll probably do it tomorrow, but we're going to set this up today. PSG absolutely curb-stomped Real Madrid yesterday. I told you that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I hated the value there, but I told you it was going to happen. It was one-way traffic. It was 3-0 before they had played 30 minutes. It was crazy. They're going to do the same thing to Chelsea. Sorry. Chelsea is plus 410. That's all you need to know. PSG is going to win that. Give me PSG minus 1.5. I think they're going to trounce Chelsea in that.
Nice.
Trounce them. PSG out here taking souls away. All right, next hour, we'll talk UNC football with Jason Staples of Inside Carolina.
From the heels
Touchdown, Carolina!
to the canes.
She scores!
He covers it all. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Are you tired of doing things the old way? Are you tired of wasting thousands of dollars when you buy a house? Are you tired of wondering, did I get the best deal? Well, wonder no more. Miller Lending, Kildare Farm Road in Cary since 1996, home of the original no closing cost mortgage, is the place to get your best deal. And if you act now, we'll give you 2 mortgages for the price of 1. I made that last part up. Here's the deal. If you pay closing cost, you are simply throwing money away, lighting it on fire, because you don't have to. And in these uncertain times where mortgage rates right now appear like they're never coming down, come on, we know better. They're going to come down because they have to. And when they do, you simply refinance, free of charge, lower your monthly payment, and you've already saved closing costs now twice. Oh my gosh. You could save $5,000 2 times and then lower your monthly payment? That's right. Miller Lending. On Kildare Farm Road in Cary, an equal housing lender, NMLS ID 250-2146.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
When you look at the Carolina Hurricanes right now, at the end of last season to where they are right now, this team has gotten better. Nikolai Ehlers, 6-year contract, $8.5 million a year. They didn't break the bank, but they got a top-line forward that they needed. Keandre Miller, they got younger, they got faster, they got stronger on the blue line. They got a better team now, but they still have moves they can make.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
If Heineken Silver was a 60-second radio ad, it'd tell you all the stuff you need to know in only 30 seconds to keep things light and refreshing. Seriously, time me. Heineken Silver, a world-class light beer that's surprisingly crisp and refreshing. Made with only premium quality ingredients and just 2.9 grams of carbs and 95 calories. All without compromising on taste. Heineken Silver. Order now at Heineken.com/silver. Must be 21 and older to purchase. Enjoy Heineken responsibly. Whew. 30 seconds. That's it. Done. Peace.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone. Available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time, but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop, but the perfect time for a Bojangles Bird Dog. A seasoned to perfection Bojangles Chicken Supremes, dill pickles, and Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all tucked inside a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 Bird Dogs for just $5 or 2 Bird Dog Combo for just $8.25. Available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's bow time.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot, 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 and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh, yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm attorney Brian Ritchie. Big truck accidents can cause life-changing injuries, and life-changing injuries deserve life-changing money. I know big truck wrecks, and I know how to fight those big insurance companies. If you've been hurt by a big truck, contact us at ritchielaw.com. I'm on top of it.
Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
I would see a player that said he got an offer from another school, and I'm trying to figure out why you guys haven't investigated it, and how is that possible when the guy's not in the portal? How's that? Now, if that was one of my players, you guys would be all over it. I'm trying to figure out how can somebody say, you got a $5 million offer? How? Secondly, I like the professional rules to be implemented in college. They're getting ready to be pros. Let's go 2 feet in, on the catches. Let's mark the foul if it pass interference. Let's do the same thing the pro game is. Let's do it to college.
Deion Sanders, the head coach at the University of Colorado. By the way, it's got to get back to ranking things. I'm going to rank for tomorrow's program. Let's give you a heads up on this. I will rank the most. I did this last year too. The 5 most important games for the ACC this year. And I'm not sure Georgia Tech at Colorado on opening weekend isn't on the list. Georgia Tech might be sneaky good. I'm not sure Colorado's going to be, but that is a game where Georgia Tech beating Colorado on the road kind of has to happen for the ACC. At some point, the league's going to have to win these non-conference games. Now, to the guts of what Deion Sanders said there, let's just handle the last of it, because the first part is all coaches that did not do as well in either recruiting or, purchasing players out of the portal, basically what's happening, are going to call for, we need to level the playing field, we need to have a salary cap, blah, blah, blah. We have 0 examples of a level playing field in college sports. None. Ever. Has never happened. Ever. When Deion was at Florida State and the Seminoles were amazing, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so, their system of, we'll just call it recruitment, kept Florida State ahead of just about everybody else. Not everybody else. They were in the mix at the top of the sport. Florida State had built-in advantages. Burt Reynolds throwing, I don't know, maybe his smile around. Also, money. So, I'm not here to talk about the level playing field. But what Deion did say about we should do things like the NFL, yeah, they should. The timing of a college football game should be identical to the timing of an NFL game. Why does college football take 4 hours to play? NFL games don't take 4 hours to play. There are a handful of games every week, really, that end in less than 3 hours. The only way a college football game ends in less than 3 hours is if it gets suspended, like by lightning. That's it. Otherwise, we are 3.5 minimum. The windows for college football games are 3.5 hours. No joke. 3:30 game, it ain't over before 7. No chance. Zero chance. The timing of games should be identical to that of the NFL. 2-minute warnings, all of that should be, all of that should be the same. How they stop the clock should be the same. For pass interference, spot foul. Spot foul. Hey, we're down the field. You're about to catch a 40-yard pass. I'm dragging you down. It's only going to cost me 15 yards. Bogus. Should all be the same. But I say the same thing in basketball, too. I'm not demanding that college basketball play 48-minute games. I am simply saying that college basketball, for the men, because the women already do this, should play it in quarters. Why is men's college basketball the only sport that plays, only basketball that is timed in halves? Quarters. What are we doing? So, but Deion is right about that. Wow, we took up a lot of time there. Well, it's all right. A couple more quick things. Let's not worry so much about the wall of sound, because you've already heard some of the best. Two things that we talked about today are they're really intertwined. The ACC's agreement with Clemson and Florida State to throw out the lawsuits is really because of what's coming in college sports. Everybody's happy to have the litigation over and not be paying money they don't need to pay to attorneys, especially in the case of Florida State Clemson. There is a little bit more, okay, we understand that if we just sit here for the next 4 years or 5 years, we will be allowed to leave for a reasonable price. And that is true. And the ACC knows that, yeah, for the next 4 or 5 years, everything's going to be the same. Because as soon as those television contracts for the Big Ten and the college football playoff are ready to be renegotiated again, this is all going to look real different. All of it. There might not be an ACC, or if Cody Campbell has his way, the billionaire who is funding Texas Tech athletics, we might be looking at either all of, we'll just call it, to keep it in college football, all of FBS football being under the same umbrella, including finances, or the power leagues might just break away, just do a super league, and have 60 teams in it. The reason I would push back against a smaller number, right now the SEC has 16 teams and the Big Ten has 18 teams. The reason I would push back against a smaller number there, 40, 48 or something like that, is because somebody's got to lose. I mean, if you have a Super League and you're all playing each other, there's going to be some pretty proud programs with some pretty bad records. Somebody's got to lose, which is why the SEC doesn't want to kick Vanderbilt out. Vandy, we need you. Somebody's got to take a lot of L's. That's why you're here, Boston College. Although I shouldn't say that because BC has been a pretty good, performer. Not all the time, but in the past has been a pretty good performer, especially in the ACC. We get, it's easy to slam on BC because they're a smaller school, a private school in one of the big leagues, and that's really one of the elements that hurts the ACC as much as anything, is that we're not half private, but Duke, Wake, BC, we got private school blood here, and that doesn't really serve the league very well when you are talking about, and that's really the reason why the Big Ten makes so much money. It's, with the exception of Northwestern, you're basically talking about massive, the biggest public institutions. They have the biggest alumni bases, and that's why the Big Ten network is makes so much money. That's why ultimately the Big Ten is the wealthier of those two power leagues. All right, let's break here. Jason Staples of Inside Carolina is going to join us on the other side. We'll talk about UNC football going forward into this year and all of the roster turnover that is coming. Next.
Questioning goalie interference calls since day one. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, Tim Donnelly here with some great news. Win Your Weight in Meat is back on 99.9 The Fan. Text BEEF, B-E-E-F, to 919-860-5326 and enter to be one of our finalists. Through July 18th, we'll pick 10 people to come on air during the drive from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, and share their weight. Then, on July 21st, we will randomly select one lucky winner, and they will score their weight in meat. Served up by our friends with the NC Beef Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Summer is for pool visits, vacations, and finally taking that adventure you've been putting off. I'm Victoria Vodnecker here for Law Tigers, and one thing I've learned over my time riding motorcycles, or really just any vehicle in general, is you can try to plan for as much as possible when figuring out your next trip, but no one wants to think about the steps you have to take after getting into a wreck. And the reality is, riding your motorcycle comes with that risk, despite all of the benefits it also brings. But one important thing to remember if you're ever in that situation of getting into an accident on your motorcycle that wasn't your fault, always call Law Tigers first before calling your insurance company. At Law Tigers, they're riders too. They understand the lifestyle. They understand the value of your bike and your gear. They know what it's like to go through an accident. So case evaluations are always free, and you're not going to pay a dime until your case is settled. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS, North Carolina's motorcycle lawyers. Law Tigers is a network of independent law firms who are members of the American Association of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Law Tigers is not a law firm.
Westwood One Sports presents this special tennis update sponsored by Kohl's. Make the most of summer with stylish looks from Kohl's and Kohl's.com, where families come first. Iga Swiatek and Belinda Bencic, only two players in the Wimbledon fortnight scheduled to play singles matches on consecutive days. It hardly bothered Swiatek. On center court, she dismantled Bencic. 6-2, 6-love. It was over in an hour and 11 minutes, and now Swiatek, who had never before reached a Wimbledon semifinal, is in Saturday's final. She'll face the American Amanda Anisimova, born in New Jersey. She moved to Florida at a young age, was a junior champion, was a French Open semifinalist at age 17, but 2 years ago, Anisimova took a break from tennis, citing burnout and mental health concerns. Is she ever back? A semifinal upset of top seed Aryna Sabalenka, 6-4, 4-6, 6-4, the world number one, still yet to reach a Wimbledon final. John Stanshauer, Westwood One Sports.
This summer with Kohl's, you can rack up the compliments. Like, where'd you get that dress? Tell me all your makeup secrets. Or, ooh, my husband needs that polo in every color. Because Kohl's has what you need. Cute dresses, Sephora essentials, stylish polos, comfy kids clothes, and more. Plus, take 20% off some of your faves. Yep, cue the compliments with Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offer ends July 20th. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
DQ presents How to Make Your Summer Take Flight. Just head into DQ for a new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat. Treat your inner hero to an epic mix of sugar cookie dough, sprinkles, and cake batter flavor. Blend it all with legendary DQ soft serve, and it's enough to tempt Superman himself. Fly into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat before it's gone. And don't miss Superman. Only in theaters July 11th. DQ. Happy tastes good. Only at participating locations.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A. member FDIC.
This is Adam Gold.
80-second mark, I scream in the booth. I screamed in the booth. Why the heck is he still on the ice?
Did you say it in Finnish?
I should have.
Yes.
No, he wouldn't. He curses in English.
He does.
All right, 2 seconds later, he scored.
Yes.
And I went, oh, that's why. That's why.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. 2 weeks from today, we will be in Charlotte for ACC football kickoff. Actually begins 2 weeks from 2 days ago. So we're 12 days away from the start. Commissioners Forum Tuesday morning with Jim Phillips giving the state of the ACC. And then a whole bunch of schools we don't care about. I kid, we do. But we care mostly about the schools that are going to be there on day 3, which includes all 3 schools from the Triangle, plus Clemson, plus Virginia Tech and Boston College. And I'm going to guess, I don't know this for a fact, Jason Staples, Inside Carolina. He will be there, or there will be other representation from Inside Carolina. And Jason joins us on the Adam Gold Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for your time. I said this earlier, so I don't care about Jordan Hudson. I don't know if you do or not. I'm so glad that period is upon us where we were dealing with that, with news of whatever. It wasn't even news, gossip every other day. I'm so excited that period is over. But I brought up Bill Belichick coming to Operation Football. I wonder if Jordan's coming. I wonder if it's going to be a complete circus. Gosh, I hope not. Do you think Bill will do interviews with like the local radio down there? Or do you think he's only going to stick to the podium stuff?
I don't know. I just know that regardless of whether he does it or not, he's going to be on to TCU.
Yeah, that's going to be a stock answer. How many players, Jason, are what is the roster turnover from last year to this year? What is the number?
Oh, geez, I haven't done a full count because it's been changing, and it depends on whether or not you count the people who leave and someone who arrives as one, or all of that. But it's on the order of about 63 or 64 last I checked.
Gosh.
Somewhere in there. It's a lot. I mean, I keep kind of my own scouting report stuff, because that's one of the things I do for Inside Carolina. Is every off season I do a scouting report series going through the entire roster. Well, when you look at I've got a Google Sheets projected depth chart,
right,
that I keep for my own internal use. And what's crazy about this is you look at this, and on defense right now, you're looking at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it looks like, and it might be 10 projected starters on defense will be transfers.
Gosh. I hope you get paid hourly.
The entire front 7.
Seriously, I hope you get paid hourly, Jason. Here's what's interesting to me. because I was looking through a couple of the preseason publications, and I have not yet gotten the Phil Steele annual, so I can get it and then tweet a picture of it and get it retweeted by Phil, because that's apparently what everybody does. I mean, it's one of those things I guess you have to do if you follow college football. But
good business,
very good business, and honestly, the publications are incredible. Not to pump Phil's tires, but so much information is in there. But when I was looking through a couple, and they have their preseason All ACC teams, and they go 3 teams deep, and we get to kind of the back end of the 3rd team. For the first time, I see the University of North Carolina player listed. To me, I don't know if that's alarming or if it's just the nature of this massive turnover. How would you look at it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think one of the things that's just so difficult, and this is one of the things is I've found, this season doing those scouting reports, the aforementioned scouting reports for Inside Carolina, is it's been a lot harder for me to do this year than it has been in any previous year.
Sure.
Because you're not only trying to assess, okay, what has this player done in the past, but also where and at what level has he done what in the past and against whom, and also how is he going to fit in whatever they're doing, which we don't have. We're operating off of what we saw in the practice like a pro event, the spring game, effectively.
Right.
And then Bill Belichick's history in the NFL, which is a completely different animal. It's hardly the same game as college football. And then, Freddie Kitchens coached on last year's offensive staff, but he's also going to be running some different things as well offensively. So you're having to account for, okay, how good is this guy really? How well is he going to fit in what they're doing? How good are the other guys that are surrounding him? And how well is this coaching staff going to mesh? And how well are all these things going to work in year one as they're trying to put things together? There's just a whole lot of, you remember Donald Rumsfeld talking about there are known unknowns and then there's the unknown unknowns. Well, this year there's a whole lot of known unknowns, let alone the unknown unknowns. And that just makes things very, very difficult. And then you add to that, and this is the second part of that, you say, okay, how much of that is alarming? Well, there is a factor that they don't have a bunch of guys on this roster that they've landed that are, that were all conference, at the Power 4 level, Power 2 level, whatever you want to call it, at the major conference level previously. They've got a bunch of guys who were either, they got some guys that were all conference at like the Conference USA level, the FCS level, a few guys that were all conference, your group of 5 types, and then a bunch of guys that might have all conference potential if they grow into it, but they're young and you're kind of looking at, okay, how much is, say, a DeAndre Robinson, who is a 315-pound defensive tackle that they got from Florida. Well, the folks at Florida thought that he would develop into a really good player down there. Same thing for another guy like Gregory Smith, another guy from Florida. Both of those guys were highly regarded on the Florida roster. Both of those guys, 4-star plus recruits, but both of them are second-year players. And how good are these guys really going to be in in this next year? So that's the thing. They've got a combination of those guys and then guys that were pretty good and probably have a reasonably high floor at this level. But whether or not they're really all conference level at this point, there's only a couple of those guys that you can kind of point to and go, okay, that guy probably, based on what he's proven in the past, yeah, he's probably going to be in all conference contention. And so for those guys, I'd say Thaddeus Dixon, the corner from Washington. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who he was all conference. He was honorable mention all Big Ten last year. Looking at his film, he's got a real shot at being on one of the 3 all ACC teams this year. I'd kind of be surprised if he wasn't. Both he and Marcus Allen at corner are guys that probably belong in that discussion. Andrew Simpson, the linebacker from Boise State, he's another one of those guys. He was really good at Boise. Is he good enough to be all ACC on one of those 3 teams? I'm not sure. But, those are the kind of guys you're looking at. Otherwise, you're looking at guys like Daniel King, who was good at Troy, but it's Troy.
Right.
And on the offensive line, I mean, how quickly is he going to step up into that? So there's a bunch of those types of guys that you kind of look at. Gio Lopez at quarterback.
Right.
The ACC's got other quarterbacks that you'd probably take above him at this point. And Max Johnson obviously going to be competing for that job as well. So, yeah, I think there's also reason for alarm in the sense that they don't have, you don't have a guy like they had last year. Last year at running back, you knew who you had.
Right.
Right. Last year, Omarion Hampton was. You walked in, you're like, okay, day one, he's probably first team All ACC. You knew you had that.
Yep.
You had a couple other guys that on last year's team when you went into the season and you went, okay, Kamen Rucker, probably a first team All ACC candidate. At least third team likely. Elijah Huzzy, another guy. So there were some of those guys that you knew based on prior stuff. But Omarion Hampton isn't walking through that door this year. And they don't have some of the top-end proven talent on this roster that they've had in previous years, but they also haven't won anything in previous years either. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that most of these preseason teams are done by stats from the previous year because that's the easiest way to justify, picks and things like that. And there's so much unknown year to year. And you talked about the two kids who transferred in from Florida after just 1 year, and they were highly recruited players then, and who knows why they're on the move now. Maybe they didn't see a path forward. I have no idea, what the deal is, and hopefully they'll turn into productive players for Bill. Jason Staples at Doc Staples on Twitter? He covers Carolina for Inside Carolina. What are reasonable, if we could even determine that right now, what are reasonable expectations for this team?
That's another really tough question because, first of all, how good has this program been since 2015? I mean,
if you wanted an answer, I could give you an answer, and I would say sporadically good.
Yeah, and Mac Brown, famously said a couple of years ago, 8 wins is pretty good around here.
Yeah, well.
There's a reason, though, that Mac Brown is not on the sideline this year, and that kind of answer is one of them. But the thing is, this is a soft schedule. You look at the ACC, and if you're going to say out of the top 6 teams in the ACC, other than let's rule UNC out of the rest of the ACC, the top 6 teams in the ACC kind of coming in projected talent-wise coming into this season, Carolina plays one of them. That's Clemson.
Yeah.
And that's a home game, by the way. So, you get 4 games to warm up before that. Now, TCU and UCF are both pretty, they're competitive group of 5 teams, I would say. I mean, technically neither is, but
right.
They're Big 12. But both of those are competitive non-conference teams.
Yeah.
They're former group of 5. It's a weird world we're living in this era. But, both of those are competitive programs that have around the same amount of talent on their rosters probably as what you feel like you're bringing in this year at Carolina. And then other than that, you got a bunch of games where you go, okay, how many other games on this schedule do you say, okay, they just can't go out and win that game? Cal, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake Forest, Duke, NC State, Richmond, Charlotte. All of those are games where you go, man, if they play well, they should be in that game. Like, none of those games should be uncompetitive. The flip side of that is only a couple of those games are games where you say that should be uncompetitive in the other direction.
Right. So I like to put it in terms of this. Which games are losable, right?
Right.
Rather than we should win that, which games are losable? And Carolina has a lot of games that are losable for various reasons. One, we're not sure how good they're going to be individually. The other thing is that there are, not too many bad teams that they are playing against, but that is
right.
Yeah, that's just the way I look at it.
So they have one game that they're probably going to lose, and that's the Clemson game. And then they have two games that probably shouldn't be losable in Charlotte and Richmond. And then the rest of the schedule is losable.
Right.
Right? So the thing is, the general rule of thumb, what I've been telling people over at Inside Carolina for years has been, if you want to be a consistent 10-11 win program, that means you need to be essentially a 14 to 17 point favorite in 11 games a year, basically. Because the odds historically, teams that are favored by 14 points win about 82% of the time. So if you play 10 games and you're favored by 14 in all of them, you're going to win 8. All things being equal, on average, just by the way the ball bounces. Now, here's where Carolina's banking on Bill Belichick. Mm-hmm. They're banking on, okay, but can better management in game, can a little bit better preparation, can a little bit better coaching, can scheming up a punt block in this game or that game or some special teams thing that you're able to get by that guy being a great coach and having a great staff. Can you steal one or two of those games? So now instead of 8 out of 10, you win 9. Well, if you're looking at a bunch of games that are between, 50 and 60% likelihood, how much coaching does it take to bump you to where you're winning 7 out of, say, 9 games instead of 6 out of 9 games? That's really what they're at. I think realistically coming into this season, 7 or 8 wins would be a win for this coaching staff. Based on what they've brought in, based on, I think, a lot of the higher-end talent that they brought in for this roster, they're guys that are going to take a year or two to develop, really a year. I think really they're kind of circling 2026 as the year where they can really make a move. And if they can hit, say, 7, 8 wins, 8 wins would be a real win this season, even despite the schedule. 9 is not out of the question just because of some of the weakness on the schedule, and you never know. But 8 wins would be pretty good around here for this year and would set the table for, I think, a leap forward the following year if they're able to do what they're hoping to do in recruiting and especially in the transfer portal.
Jason Staples, as we say goodbye, because I said this yesterday, like what Carolina's hoping for is that when that Bill Belichick is as good a coach as he is, and that rather than lose one game more than you feel like you should each year, is that it flips the other way and that you win one game more than you feel like you should have. So if 8-4 is your base, you go 9-3 versus 7-5. Because I think for the most part, and by the way, Carolina's not alone in this. We could look down the road at NC State and say the exact same thing. There have been too many games, and Bill says this all the time, more games are lost than won. And if you can allow the other team to make that mistake and play cleaner and maybe scheme your way to a win here and there, then Carolina's got a chance to max out a season. And I agree, there would be nothing wrong with 7-5, or if they could get to 8-4. Jason Staples, I don't know if you're headed to Charlotte in a couple of weeks. If you are, I'd love to say hi. I appreciate your time. We'll do it again.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Take care. Jason Staples. He was our second and both quality Staples on the program. We cornered the market in Staples today.
I know. I wish I could think of a third, but I don't know.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know another. I don't have another Staples in my phone.
Just know a store.
Yeah.
We should just call the Staples store.
Get the manager.
Somebody what's your thoughts?
Get the manager on the phone right now. All right. In a rewind, lawsuits were settled. Football was discussed. Next.
Talking sports, so you don't have to pretend to know stuff. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
The North Carolina Healthcare Association invites you to listen to this month's podcast, Conversations on the State of Healthcare. Each year, 3.6 million people in the U.S. delay or skip medical care altogether simply because they can't get to a healthcare provider. From long distances to unreliable public transit to the cost of a tank of gas, it all adds up. LaPonda Edmondson, president of the North Carolina Healthcare Foundation, joins me to talk about how their social impact program is making a difference in Robeson County.
We're investing $900,000 over the course of 3 years in Robeson County. Our aim there is to be able to support these projects that address transportation as a social driver of health.
You can learn more and join our latest Conversations on the State of Healthcare wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and learn more by visiting nchealthcare.org.
Did you know? Atlantic hurricane season runs through November. From gathering necessary supplies to planning an evacuation route, now is the time to make sure you and your family are prepared. And if a storm damages our electric system, local public power providers are ready to respond and restore power quickly and safely. As a public power customer, you benefit from having an electricity provider that restores power faster than other providers do. Visit electricities.com for storm preparation tips and resources.
Make this your best summer yet by having fun while staying active and engaged. AARP can help. Find AARP events near you by visiting aarp.org/local. That's aarp.org/local to find both in-person and virtual events. You can also learn more about living your best life by listening to AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Ask any college student. If it wasn't for the last minute, lots of assignments wouldn't get done. So if you haven't figured out your plan for college and how to pay for it yet, don't worry, you've still got time. And with the next NC scholarship, you can still get money to pay for most or all of your tuition. To apply, just fill out your FAFSA and you could get $3,000 for community college or $5,000 for public university, and possibly more. See how easy it is to apply at nextncscholarship.org.
If you are on Medicare, scammers may target you to steal your identity. Remember, Medicare will never call you asking for personal details. The NC Department of Insurance Senior Medicare Patrol program is here to protect you from fraud and provides you with knowledge to stay safe. Contact SMP today at ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Experience a day of discovery at the world's largest natural habitat zoo located in Asheboro. North Carolina Zoo and Botanical Gardens offers miles of shaded pathways, engaging activities and nature trails, and award-winning educational programming for all ages. Encounter wild animals, flourishing plants, and extraordinary beauty as you explore the ancient Uwharrie Mountains in the heart of North Carolina. Every visit helps save wildlife and wild places. Plan an unforgettable journey at nczoo.org.
This is Adam Gold.
We had lightning hit a pretty large tree.
Oh, yeah.
About 150 yards from the house. It'll be my sign to go win the lottery. But you know what? I'm sorry, I can't. I have rules. If it's not over $1 billion, I'm not playing.
Yeah, still just millions.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria, producing the program. We haven't talked about it today, and I'm not sure it's really all that sexy, but this is before we get to a rewind. A couple of weeks ago, it was revealed, thanks to Pablo Torre and his podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out. He is, of course, the foremost authority on the relationship between Bill Belichick and Jennifer Hudson. Even more so than Bill and Jennifer. Jordan.
Another J name.
Maybe that's a scandal right there. Anyway, Torre did a FOIA, I guess Freedom of Information, on the agreement that he uncovered an agreement between the NFL and the Players Association based on an arbitration hearing of about 6 months ago, in which the league they were found not guilty of collusion, but within that investigation, an arbitrator's ruling, which there was a 61-page ruling that was put out, it was found that the arbitration official's opinion was that it was clear that Roger Goodell, the commissioner, and Jeffrey Pash, the NFL's top attorney, encouraged teams, told teams to not offer guaranteed contracts anymore. I guess they could not prove that the owners colluded to do what the commissioner and the lead attorney said, but it was not open to debate whether or not the league told teams to not do it. So there was the league was not found liable financially. If you prove collusion, which we have already had in other sports, baseball had to deal with this, and this goes back several years, a 9-figure settlement that went the way of the players. When leagues collude and it's proven, there are serious financial penalties. But here is the real story. Not that the league colluded, which I'm sure they did. It was that the Players Association, and I think it's Lloyd Powell is the new head of the PA. Used to be DeMaurice Smith. Remember him? He's got a book coming out, by the way. But the new head of the Players Association apparently agreed with the league to bury the story. If I were a player and the league had colluded, or the commissioner and the lead attorney had told teams don't offer guaranteed contracts, I would want to know that. Like, it is a pretty serious charge that the Players Association, who would like nothing more than to have guaranteed contracts, because Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns already crossed that Rubicon. I would want to know that. I would want the public to know that too. And when the Players Association, when the guy runs it, the guy's the head of it, when he colludes with the league, yeah, that's not good. As it turns out, also, this gentleman has not a part-time job, but is also employed by a venture capital company that does business with the NFL, or that is trying to do business with the NFL, which, as past attorneys in the Players Association have said, that is an absolute clear conflict of interest, and he should not. No other attorneys who were employed by the Players Association, nor no other heads of the Players Association, ever had other jobs. Like, it just opens up too many appearances of conflict of interest. Anyway, it is somewhat, without having sex involved, it's pretty scandalous. Pretty scandalous. Look, I've said this 1,000 times about the NFL Players Association. Whether it's this guy, Lloyd Powell, or whatever his name is, or DeMaurice Smith before him, or Gene Upshaw before him, they have appeared to have very, very cozy relationships with the league. And I think the reason for that is because, for the most part, their constituents, meaning the Players Association, can't afford to miss a year. Your charge as the head of the PA is to simply get the best bad deal you can get. Because of all the major sports, the NFL Players Association clearly has the worst collective bargaining agreement. And NFL owners have shaped what should be no-brainers as, well, if we'll give you this, if you give us this. Like, honestly, health should be a no-brainer. Everything we can do for the betterment of the players' health should be just, all right, none of this is negotiable. We're just going to do the best we can possibly do for you. Current players, former players, and they don't. They're all bargaining chips. All of it is a bargaining chip. Anyway, that is a scandal that is going on. I'm just not sure how to make it like super sexy and interesting. And literally all of the people I wanted to talk about it today were like, I ain't talking about that. I don't want to talk about that. I have zero interest in talking about that. And I chatted up a whole bunch of people about it today, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to get involved in that. There's too many ways that could go wrong for me if I talk about it. So let's rewind. So Pablo Torre can do real stuff. Not
right.
Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick news.
Right.
Unbelievable. Okay. Let's get to David McKenzie, who joined us earlier as we talk about the dissolution of the lawsuits between Clemson, Florida State, and the ACC. So they settled a while ago. Well, it's not recent, but the state, the leading newspaper in the state of South Carolina, they got a hold of the details of the agreement that dissolved the lawsuits between the ACC, Clemson, and Florida State. And frankly, when we heard that there was a settlement, I was surprised because, not being an attorney, but talking to attorneys, I thought, man, this is the easiest lawsuit in the world to win. Like, it might take a while, but Florida State and Clemson, they don't really have legal standing here. So I asked David McKenzie, who is an intellectual property expert, he's an attorney, and because this is an intellectual property case, said, what was your first reaction to the news that it was settled, and has it changed since we got all this extra information?
Yes, it has changed. But at first, when I heard of the settlement terms, which were fairly opaque and still are, quite frankly, it was a little bit of disbelief. It sounded like it was something that was incredibly lopsided towards Clemson and Florida State. It seemed to me that the branding initiative, which is, I still believe, to be trailblazing, was certainly leaning their way, and also I would note Carolina's as well. So it was really surprised that they would settle so quickly. They were in round 2 of a 12-round fight. Adam. Right. I mean, this thing was going on for could have gone on for quite some time, and that may have been where the ACC employed its own genius to find a way to sort of, make the power conference come about a little bit faster and the like. But since I've actually had the agreement, which was given to me by a reporter in South Carolina, I was asked to review it by the state newspaper in Columbia. My feelings about it has changed by reviewing the actual legal language that's involved in the settlement agreement, as well as the amendments to the ACC Constitution. There is a couple of reasons. One of the first things that makes this agreement such a trailblazing agreement is indeed the branding initiative, Adam. And that is undoubtedly going to help schools like Florida State and Clemson, but it's also going to help schools like Miami and the University of North Carolina. No question that they stand to gain substantially from this new branding initiative. But more importantly, what it does is that this branding initiative, now I've had a little bit of a chance to review it, it basically lights a fire, or at least ignites a fuse under the hind end of the Big 12, or pardon me, the Big 10 and the SEC. It basically is going to make Greg Sankey's job a lot harder, because he's going to have to explain to Texas and Alabama why it has to subsidize Vanderbilt, when the ACC just told Clemson and Florida State that they no longer has to subsidize BC. So it's just kind of the trailblazing aspect of it is this new branding initiative. And I honestly think all of this may have, and I'm speculating, one of the things you got to realize is that, there are 11 public schools in the ACC, and not a single athletic director of any of those public schools has come out and explained what actually happened, even though those schools are taxpayer funded. And I think that this is an issue when you're talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars at stake that the public really needs to know. So you're left to speculate. And the speculation I would, if I had to do it, would be to say this was to put the pressure on the Big 10 as well as the SEC. They have been talking for months, if not years, about potentially hitting the eject button. Well, this is highly destabilizing for their own good.
There's a lot in this. By the way, the conversation we're going to bring you one more clip from the conversation with David McKenzie. All of it is available on the Best of the Adam Gold Show podcast, or is it just the Adam Gold Show podcast? We don't call it the Best of the Adam Gold Show podcast, do we?
I think so.
I don't know what we call it.
It's there.
Every day. Every day.
Adam Gold Show podcast.
We just spit it out. I have nothing to do with it. Victoria does it. And we'll get to the other element here in a second. The brand initiative, which essentially gives the schools who bring more eyeballs to the table. That matters to Clemson, Florida State, Miami, certainly this year, North Carolina. Like, the weird thing is that we could put it in context of men's basketball, right? Because that will also play a role in this, by the way. Nationally, no school brings in more eyeballs than Duke. 0. And frankly, it's not real close. It took 1 versus 2 last year, Alabama-Auburn, that game. That was the only regular season game that was ranked higher than Duke, Carolina. But Duke has typically been like 7 or 8 of the top 15 college basketball games every year. Carolina's on the list of the eyeballs. Michigan State is, Kansas is, Kentucky is. Pretty much nobody else in terms of national, who are people tuning in to see. In football, I'm not sure the ACC has one of those, although when they were really good, Miami was, and Florida State. I'm not sure Clemson has that if Clemson is not great. Even when Florida State isn't necessarily great, there are still people tuning in. Miami, I think, also is more of a brand. I don't know that anybody else in football really has that in the ACC. All right, now one more thing quickly with David McKenzie, because this was all over, we thought, grant of rights. I still believe that the grant of rights would have held if the ACC decided to push. I asked David if he agreed.
The grant of rights agreement was a legitimate contract that was signed by grown adults represented by attorneys, and under which Florida State, Clemson, and a number of other schools took hundreds of millions of dollars under. Not one time did Florida State or Clemson present an actual cognizable contract defense that would have allowed them to escape that deal, and no court in the litigation that spanned 3 jurisdictions ever said that agreement was invalid. It never reached the merits of whether that agreement was invalid. And oftentimes, you make decisions not necessarily based on the law, but rather based on practicality and business. I mean, you can have the legal cards all day long, but if enforcing the legal cards, including on appeal in your motions practice at the trial court, winning can oftentimes result in business catastrophe. And I think that that's one of the questions that people need to be asking themselves for the ACC. You got to understand that the SEC and Big Ten are essentially looking to acquire new properties for a potential Super League to come in 2030.
Yep.
Would you buy a house, Adam? I mean, would you buy a house with a contested title?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, who would go out and buy a house that had contested titles? And in that sense, it's important to realize that when you have years worth of litigation, and you only have 4.5 years before you need clarity, right? Because this thing is not going to be planned in December of 2029.
Right.
The Super League. It's got to be underway right now. And if the ACC had, 18 or 16 of 18 of its members, 2 of which are in litigation, but all 18 have their media rights under a cloud of litigation, it's the title to that is unclear. And it's just not going to be marketable to the next iteration of whatever the college Super League or college sports is going to look like. Those rights have to be clear, and there has to be clarity. So I think at the end of the day, yes, the grant of rights agreement was a valid agreement, and I will say that until the cows come home. And people can light me up on that not real place called Twitter all day long. Not once did Florida State or Clemson articulate a contract defense. It was a valid agreement. This had to be based on reasons outside of the law, and I'm sure that the Big Ten and SEC has identified a number of properties that it would like to bring into the fold. And it's probable that it only required 2/3 of the ACC, which is 12, to come to an agreement on these things and whether to sign. And once you get to that threshold, which is 12. What would you want to be one of the ones kicking and screaming against the deal, like BC, for example? Right. It would make itself completely unmarketable to the next iteration, and nobody would want to acquire it.
There's a lot there. Thanks to David McKenzie for jumping on. We also talked to Andy Staples. That'll be fascinating in the Adam Gold Show podcast, which drops basically as soon as we're done, which is about 20 seconds from right now. Your Cubs leading the Twins 6-1. They are in the 6th inning. Orioles scored 3 times in the 8th, beat the Mets 3-1 in game 1 of a doubleheader. So I'm going to go home and cry. See everybody tomorrow.
Talking sports, dropping truth. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
When you look at the Carolina Hurricanes right now, at the end of last season to where they are right now, this team has gotten better. Nikolai Ehlers, 6-year contract, $8.5 million a year. They didn't break the bank, but they got a top-line forward that they needed. Keandre Miller, they got younger, they got faster, they got stronger on the blue line. They got a better team now, but they still have moves they can make.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
Durham, get ready for an electric night.
Headed for the 2-point zone at the buzzer.
Home Run Derby X is back at Durham Bulls Athletic Park on August 9th.